A country that has toppled so many governments in Africa, that has led so many coups in Africa and other parts of the world. A country that has killed so many of our leaders in Africa and other parts of the world. The killers of Patrice Lumumba, those who toppled Kwame Nkrumah, those who killed Nasser, those who killed Muammar Gaddafi, today are coming to teach us about democracy. A country that has been built on brutal force, on enslavement of other human beings, on the humiliation of Africans, the exploitation of Africans, the plunder of Africa, today is coming to teach us about democracy. If you have no respect for the dignity of others, if you have no respect for the sovereignty of other countries, you cannot claim to be a champion of democracy.
Welcome to a Monday edition of the Nick and CJ Show. I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up, Nick?
What's poppin', my friends, my family? It's great to be here. Another week of RBN Live. I'm glad that you played that. I literally had that clip saved as an intro that I was going to use.
Oh, right on.
That's how me and CJ, we usually on the same page.
In sync, yeah, we're in sync.
And the NATO left, the Booty left, and I have noticed this, and I'm sure you do as well. They don't talk about Africa. Like you hear people like Matt Duss, they will go on those shows like, man, Putin is calculated, Putin isolated himself. That's the rhetoric the NATO left goes with. And that's very relevant because we talk about Sanna Marin here soon, who is like the textbook example of what the NATO left is. And we hold AOC accountable, as we will continue to do, because AOC is exactly what Sanna Marin is. Like, imagine if AOC got power. I'm talking about real power, prime minister level shit. She would do what Sanna Marin is doing.
Well, apparently, Nick, the article we get to is going to talk about her possibly seeking a higher office. So we'll get to that. Go ahead.
If you guys think she's bad now, wait till she get the cups of leadership. It's going to be a wrap, son. It's going to be a wrap because Sanna, she lost in Finland. We about to cover that here within the hour or so. She lost to a center-right party. There was another more far-right party. They came in third place. And Sanna Marin is known as a big social democrat. All the NATO leftists, like the Bosch types, the TYT types. I know they're pretty sad about this. They always rush to her defense when the unfair right wing attacks her. Even though as a Marxist, me, I just look at the capitalist fight and like, that's our reaction to whenever the capitalist fight. If one side get a legit zinger over the other, I'm like, But whenever like a Democrat or liberal or attacked, you get the Social Democrats, the DSA left, they run to the defense. Oh my God, they attacked Sanna Marin because she was partying one day.
I remember why, because I couldn't remember what I had listened to a couple of their streams on her where they kind of mentioned her. They never really talk about her, but it was weird to me when I first discovered she was supposedly a progressive or like a social democrat because she was so hardline on NATO. Then I was like, oh yeah, the NATO left. They're down with NATO now. So that's the flip.
She's like big on childcare, and that's the advantage that social democrats have over neoliberal. So people always give her credit because of her child policy, but that's more because the United States is extreme. That's her policy on child paid maternity leave should be standard. So I'm not gonna sit here and pretend
like center.
Yeah, that should be like the average position, which is in rational, humane, morale societies, like in Russia, get at least 180 days. I had Zoya on before months ago. Well, she explained there's a lot of fucking loopholes. Not to cut those days short, but there are people who go way longer than 180, CJ.
Yeah.
Explain because there are a lot of loopholes that benefit the workers in the dreaded fascist Russia, according to the NATO left. But they love Sanna Marin. She supports that. Meanwhile, Putin and Russia implement that crickets. So you guys see that centrist positions. But they pretend that she's a progressive, but she is a neocon. She is responsible for breaking Finland neutrality. And Finland is about joining NATO next week. You guys know that? Next Tuesday.
Yeah, that's another story we're going to be.
You guys know that's her legacy. She was a one-term prime minister, but she will forever be known as the leader that rallied the troops behind NATO expansion. Something that right-wing hawks wanted to do in NATO forever. I'm spoiling the segment. I'm going to save a lot of this for the segment. But I'm gonna
for sure.
Because actually, I don't segment too much. Because I'm gonna show this video from this is another great Africa response video. I'm gonna just cut my L's. I don't want to spoil.
And I got one, so we would just make this the African response. I have another one to show you too. Go ahead.
Hopefully, this is not the one because I think
no. That's not the one.
This is another great one.
That's another.
In that same vein, and before I got on the AOC rant, I was talking about how the NATO left and the boutique media apparatus. They don't cover Africa. That's not part of their analysis at all. At all. They repeat often MSNBC talking points that the world is united behind Putin. Putin made a miscalculation. Biden has united and strengthened his allies. You see stuff, people like fucking Ro Khanna say that shit. That's the line for the Democratic Party. But meanwhile, this is the reality of the situation. You got people like Naledi Pandora from South Africa, who is more... they are very open about calling the United States out and why they are losing influence.
You know, I think this notion of international rules is very comfortable for some people to use when it suits them, but they don't believe in international rules when it doesn't suit them because they don't apply international rules or law equally in all circumstances. So you can't say because Ukraine has been invaded, that suddenly sovereignty is important.
Yes.
But it was never important for Palestine. It's very peculiar. If you believe in international law.
She just called out the inconsistency.
I love the accent, Nick, because it's like she's black, but she has this stereotypical white, like British accent. So it's like it helps. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it helps with the slaying of the imperialists to do it with their own dialect. You get what I'm saying?
It's like, hey, we know who you are. You know who you fuck you are. Now you know I got German ancestry, the big part of my DNA. I know you motherfuckers are. I know what y'all did to our ancestors. They know they was there.
Yeah.
They know who supported apartheid. I would play that part again. God, that part powerful, and I'll let it play a little bit more.
She actually, I think there might be another clip of her. There might be another one. I'll see if I can find it. There might be another one of her too. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not gonna pretend I'm super familiar with her, but I've seen a lot of great clips of her speaking truth to power on Western imperialism.
Invaded, that suddenly sovereignty is important, but it was never important for Palestine. It's very peculiar. If you believe in international law truly, then wherever sovereignty is infringed, it must apply. And this is the point we've been making, that we use the framework of international law unequally, depending on who is affected. And we are arguing that that must change. And one of the interesting changes that has occurred is the sudden movement, because Russia has invaded Ukraine, that we say, okay, let's not allow the Security Council to just have the veto and let it pass. We take it to the General Assembly. When some of us had been calling for the General Assembly to have a greater say, we never enjoyed support. But suddenly today, see, that's where international law begins to mean nothing. Because for some, we see it as a cheating, and for others, we see it as a benefit.
And that's the concept explained at my most recent live stream. You guys can check out Nick at Night as well. Weaponized hypocrisy. What Western chauvinists, what Democrats and liberals, what they constantly do is they say, "Oh my God, I know we do bad things, but don't let Putin off the hook." That is whataboutism. Putin is responsible for war crimes. Bring Joe Biden. Oh, come on, it's whataboutism. You vote for a war criminal. That is weaponized hypocrisy. Is the highest form of corruption. And it enables corruption like none other. And this was a Cuban ambassador to the United Nations spelled out months ago. And that's why he voted to refuse to condemn Russia for war crimes, because he said until this commission condemns Palestine, condemns the United States, condemns the George W. Bush, this is a corruption regime, because it allows the West and their allies to be emboldened because they know they can get away with whatever they want. Meanwhile, they weaponize and use humanitarian rights that they are responsible for violating as a way to attack and provoke their quote-unquote geopolitical enemies. It's an extremely nefarious strategy that they do. But I'll close this out. CJ, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I wanted to add. It's a beautiful thing. I talked to my wife, and my wife is on the hey, how do we survive this U.S. Basically hegemony like collapsing in the petrodollar. We'll get to another story where Marco Rubio is damn mad, Nick. He's mad about what's happening with China and the petrodollar.
I got a great video. I have a great video I can interject during that segment, because there's another video from Fox News where they're just livid over the fact that the United States hegemony has collapsed, and they also pretend that it's like a Democrat thing. It's like, bro, they don't like John Bolton and Mike Pompeo either, bro. Anyway, I'll get to that later. I think that fits well.
The spinning they're doing about this. But yeah, here's another African, and he's not having it. Just calling it out. This one is in specific about the criminal court, the International Criminal Court.
Putin is welcomed here, and no one is going to arrest Putin. If needs be, we'll go and fetch Putin from the airport to his meeting. He will finish all his meetings. We'll take him back to the airport. We're not going to be told by these hypocrites of the International Criminal Court, who know the real violators of human rights, who know the murder.
He's saying, you know who the real violators are. And everybody on the planet knows who the real violators are. So you can take this freaking charge and shove it where you know where, Nick. That's basically what he's saying, and I'm loving it. Let's continue.
Of this world. That former Prime Minister of Tony Blair admitted that they made a horrible mistake when it comes to Saddam Hussein. They've not been charged today. Bush is still there. They've not been charged till to date. And then Obama killed Gaddafi. And then nothing has happened. We're here today with Libya being destroyed and unable to recover because of America. We know very well that where NATO gets involved, those are terrorists. We know very well where the US says we are going in to install peace. That place will never know peace as long as America has visited that place. So we don't want ICC's hypocrisy to apply here in our country.
You notice how he intertwines the United States with the ICC, because everybody knows that they're intertwined. Like he's talking United States and talking ICC because they're intertwined. They're one and the same. Go ahead.
And this is what I mentioned on Glenn Greenwald's System Update show. And I'm working. I think we're gonna have Glenn on here soon as well. So that's gonna be a fire show. But I mentioned on his show, I said I love that they did this. I love that the ICC put this arrest warrant on Putin. Because I have done stories weeks beforehand where I show you guys how they did not want, the Pentagon did not want that to happen. They know they'll be safe, right? They don't think they're gonna get arrested because of this, but it creates a snowball effect. Like, oh, this happened. Now other leaders like this guy gonna get to talk about it. You bring up this conversation that the neocons and the people in the Pentagon did not want to have. Oh, if we're gonna stand for the rule of law and prosecute war criminals, what about Barack Obama's decision not to prosecute George W. Bush? And that was the main thing everyone was arguing with. Let alone Netanyahu, let alone John Bolton, Mike Pompeo, Donald Trump. Guys are like, man, I love that they did this. I don't care about Putin. I'm glad they opened the conversation up. Let's have this debate. Let's have this conversation. And I'll show you guys how even someone like Mehdi Hassan, that scumbag, even he can cook a neocon. He invite one of them people on the show because he knew it was gonna be easy. Man, it was a smart move. That's an easy debate. Make him look smart, right? Have some guy who was trying to argue that we should prosecute Putin, but we shouldn't prosecute George W. Bush. Cause you're like, oh man, that really letting Putin off the hook. No, you're letting when you were saying it the exact opposite. You're letting George W. Bush off the hook. You're like, oh,
it's like they want us to. It's like it's a top 10 most wanted list, and the United States keeps saying, forget the top 10 list. Let's go over and get number 207. You get what I'm saying? It's like, dude, what about the top 10 list, basically? But I do have one more video, and it's with the guy who we started with, and we'll close out this Africans Ain't Having It segment. And I love the teaming up that Africans are doing with China in particular. Just to have the dynamic of two non-European faces talking about power dynamics, it's a beautiful thing to see. Yeah,
serious. Cross and Laura.
They're like, "Where's the white face at? Where's Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt in this movie?" That's what they're saying, Nick.
This should have been keeping Fox News up at night, bro. Fox News has been hilarious the last few weeks, dude. They've been melting down all this. But go ahead, CJ.
All right, so let's listen to another short clip from this same African leader from our intro.
Look at for example, the coverage of China in the Western press or remarks by Western officials, in particular U.S. officials. They often refer to China as the biggest, or top challenge or biggest threat to the U.S. existence. How do you understand that kind of allegation or criticism?
You can understand why they are worried about like a country like China, because China is working in the opposite direction to them. China is working to free other people and free itself from being plundered, from being humiliated.
You're not gonna see this on CNN.
This is the country.
Not at all.
You're not even gonna see this on Left Independent News, apparently.
The NATO left can't go down this rabbit hole, Nick. It would have them in conflict with the Democratic Party. And remember that article, I forget what website, but the article where that said basically the DSA and all their followers are willing to get rid of any policy that comes in conflict with how they're seen at the kids' table at the Democratic Party.
Yes, they didn't cover that either. But they're going to talk about how Bernie went on Fox News and slayed, though.
I know. He had the hearing. Now, I covered the hearing, too, with Howard Schultz, for example.
I'm not saying he didn't.
I covered that, and that was good. That's a good thing. Yeah, that's a good thing. Bring capitalists and slay them. But my critique is, what are you doing after this, Bernie? Yeah. Because that's where the critique is. You only are talking and tweeting, and you want other people to do the work, and you're not doing the work, Bernie. So what are you doing? You brought Howard Schultz in. You know that's what they're doing. What are you going to do?
I'm not impressed by the hearings, man. That what Katie Porter got famous for. They'll do these big theatrical hearings where they grill these capitalists. They'll nail these capitalists to the wall. And I'll be honest, guys. Back in the early days, I used to fall for that shit too. I used to see them people like, damn, dude, this is great, man. You got someone actually calling these people out. But then after seeing it over and over and over and over again with nothing happening, not only did nothing happen, they would then vote in favor of these people that they were grilling later.
Yes.
So I'm like, I realized like, damn, I really was an idiot for falling for this because it's obviously a show. Like they both it's annoying for the CEO building or whatever. But what they're thinking, they're like, yeah, we doing all this illegal shit. They're gonna just slap us on the wrist. The worst we gotta do is we gotta show up at Congress and get lectured at, and they just sit there with their billions of dollars.
Yes,
billions of dollars in their pocket. Like, you know how rapper stands when you ever seen rap battle?
Yeah.
You know how the rapper stands when you get
when I get
CEO at the Congress. Yeah, I'm rich as fuck. I don't give a fuck about none of this. Nigga. Oh, you got me, AOC. Oh, you got me. I guess.
Yeah, and the thing is, in January of the presidential season, they'll be having fundraisers, toasting them with some champagne. Like that was a good one, huh, guys? Yes, that was a good one.
Yeah, you can continue to do that,
Yeah, let's finish this.
Thrived, survived, prospered from slave trade, cross-Atlantic slave trade. They enslaved the Africans for centuries. They plundered the resources of Latin America, the resources of Africa, the resources of Asia.
They plundered even the resources of Europe. This is the country, if plunder today, exploitation of other people is removed, the USA will not be the powerful country that it is today. If there's equality in the dealings with each other, the USA ceases because it doesn't know how to deal with other people on an equal basis, with other nations on an equal basis. It gets lost. It's worried today with the multipolar world that is emerging because its hegemonic interests are being threatened. It's not China per se. It's the interests of the Americans that are being threatened with a world that is more equal, that is more fair, that is more just. They can't survive in that world because their methods of existence are based on plundering other nations, on humiliating other nations, on exploiting other nations.
Well, a related
Man, that last line, their whole existence is based on plundering and stealing. That is absolutely on point. If I had to describe America, like history, existence in one sentence, it's based on plundering everybody else's resources and taking that shit. That's
in the Ron DeSantis style Republicans, the right wing, and white America as a whole, they want to ban critical race theory because you're brainwashing the kids into hating our country by talking about stuff that we do. I'm thinking like little Timmy, Ron DeSantis, y'all can ban critical race theory all you want. That doesn't stop the people in Africa to know from what you guys did. They're not going to stop the hood. It's stories.
It's only not preparing your own offspring for what's coming. It's so stupid because you're not preparing your own offspring. What everybody else in the world is learning and looking at us, and your own offspring is going to be just like, what's wrong, guys? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not preparing your offspring by doing this, and it's but what can they do? Like, what is their other option, Nick? Like, how does white supremacy have a come to Jesus moment and say, you know what, guys, sorry world, like what can they do at this point? You know what I'm saying? Like, surrender? Like, it's nothing that can be done but just to ride this out. It's almost like this is what they got to do. What other option do they have?
Fam, Kamala Harris went to Africa, and there was a collective eye roll across the entire continent. No one falling for this bullshit no more.
In the news conference when she was there, man, the other African leader was saying shit while she was standing right next to her. It's so funny.
Smiling the whole time. I had no idea what the fuck's going on. But I don't know if you have anything else. You get to some.
No, we can close this segment.
And I can cover the Finland story next. I want to get that.
Yeah, and then we'll get.
That's like breaking. That's like breaking. So I'll cover that and I'll pass it to you for your stories. But you can do some announcements.
All right, so let's do some announcements, everybody. One, I want to show you the website. Make sure we really want to drive people over to our website. Let's take this one. Oops. Take this one off. So first thing, hit that like button. We're at about 275 people watching. So can we get 250 likes? And then check out our website. Looks like that. That's the home page. Let me throw up the URL. There you go. This is where you can see like our members' profiles. You can click on each one. Like, see, if I clicked on Sabby, you can see a little write-up of her, any of her other links. We all have these pages. If you go to JB or James, he has his write-up, and then he has a lot more links. I think he has the most links. And you can do that at any of them. The outreach page, you can see like pictures. We still have to add more video and pictures to the library part. But Tour for the Poor, some community work. You see Sabby there at the Julian Assange rally. So you can check a lot of things out at our website. Here's our email address, info@redblacknetwork.com. The other thing, we did launch our, what is it called?
GoFundMe? Here,
yes, GoFundMe. So it's on here somewhere. Here it goes right here. Oh, it's scrolling at the bottom. My bad. So GoFundMe and there's the link. You can check it out.
Let me first I want to, this is the benefit of GoFundMe. We're setting up a thank you page for the people who maybe I don't want to put that up. The people who support us on Patreon. I don't want to put your whole name up here. I'll at least get a shout out to Marlon, Carrie, and Robin, who recently supported us on GoFundMe.
Yeah.
And also big shout out specifically to Steve. Big shout out to Steve. I don't know you saw this, TJ, but Steve donated $100 to our GoFundMe. So I'm gonna try to do shout outs to you guys on that on GoFundMe. So because we appreciate it, that how we pay our fair labor value to our crew and our members, and how we really expand. There's no other way that we can other than without you guys' support. So much love to everyone. Once again, much love to Marlon, Steve, Carrie, and Robin. So
and the reason we didn't want to put it up just because we don't want to for privacy reasons, but the reason we wanted to have a GoFundMe is for transparency reasons. So you can see what's being raised. Yeah, you can just go there and see what's being raised. The same, you can instead of going, I mean, you can still donate through Venmo. So if that's your only avenue, please use it. But if you have a Venmo card, you can go on GoFundMe and use your Venmo card that way, and it'll be tracked there. That way you can see your money has been, how it appears, and then just transparency. So that was important for us to get our GoFundMe. But anyway, that's part of our labor fundraiser. $1,000. Revolutionary Blackout is our Venmo if you needed that. And then if you do have Cash App, it's not listed, but Mutual Aid Forever is our Cash App. Mutual Aid Forever. Here's our Substack. Our last thing here. Substack, sign up for when we go live, like when we have Glenn Greenwald, when we have Jimmy, when we have these bigger name guests, and just our daily live shows, our clips. Join our Substack. We're also going to start writing op-eds, doing some reporting. Like when I do some reporting, I'll also put it on Substack. So you want to get on our Substack. And also an added benefit, you get the link to our Discord. We just hit 32,400, Nick. I got to update that, but 32,400 we just hit. So thank you for everybody that has joined. And I'll pass it back to you, Nick, for the first story.
Yeah, so this is definitely coming. Sanna Marin, who I have covered a lot. And the reason why we're extremely critical of AOC, we're going to get to her story here very soon, is because you can see the blueprint that the NATO left is following. They're not following, like, even someone who's not even that radical, they're not following the Lula blueprint. The Lula blueprint of reaching out to China, of wanting to have peace in Ukraine. They follow the Sanna Marin model, the European Social Democrat model, which, surprise, surprise, they lost to another right-winger. It's almost like Social Democrats are weak against capitalism. We're going to cover that here very soon because they did lose to someone who is deeply troubling. But that's because, and I'm going to explain this here very soon, you had in Finland elections, in the polls, it was showed that the number one thing that people cared about was the economy. Now, you had Sanna Marin that essentially pledged loyalty to the Ukrainian government, and she was doing multiple press conferences. And I want to show you guys multiple headlines and sub-headlines, because the way they're writing this in liberal media is the exact opposite of reality. They said, man, the global community is really impressed with Sanna Marin's position on NATO and standing up for Ukraine. Meanwhile, she created an energy crisis by supporting economic war with Russia. Then their mindset is, we care about the economy. We see that you guys care more about Ukraine than you do your own people. So she lost on the economy because Finland, Sweden, and Europe is taking economic hits because they got Putin derangement syndrome. So do not get it twisted. This loss is directly linked to her taking orders of the United States. And she was successful because she got Finland into NATO. Finland about to join now. Let me see if I can find the receipt. Like I said, I never expected you guys just to believe me. That's why I always want to show receipts. I see one headline. I didn't see this one earlier. This one 15 minutes ago from the AP. It said Finland doubling NATO's border with Russia is a blow to Putin. No, that's a blow to human and global peace and stability. You guys see how they frame shit? Oh my God, Putin, who do not want global nuclear war, this is a blow to him. This is a blow to China. They always say shit. We send weapons to Taiwan and blow to China because China doesn't want a fucking war.
Do they really not understand why Africa is like, fuck you guys? Like, I don't understand. You're doing exactly what they're saying you're doing. And it's I don't get it, but go ahead, Nick.
And this is how, look, this is just an example of how the media spin this, because in the United States media, you guys know how the Overton window is extremely fucked. According to right-wing America, even on MSNBC, CNN, that she was considered a progressive global icon, like the top of the heap, as far as you can possibly get and get power. She's the one, because she's 34 years old, the youngest elected prime minister ever, a female, and that's all it takes. All it takes in the West to be considered progressive. Support centrist shit, as far as I'm concerned, of child maternity leave, child health care policies, right? That's centrist shit, right? That the far right fascist Putin even supports. But she's a global progressive icon, even though she's a shill of NATO. She was the biggest simp of Big Pharma, COVID lockdowns and mandates, the face of it. And she had this press conference that went viral, and that really hurt her when she was like, "You guys must comply, or yes, we're gonna have the police go after you." The progressive icon weaponizing the police state to control the body autonomy of workers. The progressive hero. Now you also have Sanna Marin, who essentially pledged loyalty to Ukraine and Putin in defeating Putin. So this is the person that she lost to, because these social democrats and their concession to capitalism, their weakness on challenging the right wing, it leads to people like Vittori Orpo, who defeated Sanna Marin, who's definitely also a NATO simp. And this is also what they support as well. This is what the guy said. He said Finland needs welfare cuts. Opposition leader says ahead of election. So this guy is also a NATO simp. So his position is, man, we need to cut the welfare so we can send more money to the Nazis. And Sanna Marin lost to this guy because she didn't have a substantive criticism of his policies. Because her response to this guy is, yeah, man, I disagree. You shouldn't cut money for welfare, but yeah, we should still send money to Nazis in Ukraine.
Isn't that what you just described? Marianne Williamson, didn't you just describe her just now?
I told you guys, this is directly related to what's going on right now, and also directly related to the NATO left and AOC, because AOC and the NATO left, they are mourning her death right now, CJ. Mourning her death. AOC
Really?
loves her.
Really?
She's the progressive girl boss. AOC,
I did not know this. This is brand new to me. I did not know this because Nick,
how
I was introduced to her as a neocon crony by you. So I've always known her to be this. You know what I'm saying?
I can pull up more.
No, I'm saying so I started searching and looking up her, but I'm looking at her from the perspective of I want war with Ukraine. She's been one of the more vocal people. So that's what I know from her. What exactly? Some children's stuff? What exactly? How is she not Marianne Williamson?
Bro, you can find countless articles of people saying, like, man, she's the progressive prime minister. That's how she was marketed.
What?
And you know her only as the warmonger, neoliberal enabler she is.
That's
how I report on her, because she's out in the open being a neocon, a shill of weapon defense manufacturers, right? But the kayfabe, the bullshit, the pro wrestling nonsense bullshit that they put out in the establishment is, oh my God, look at this young female progressive. She's a feminist. She's a liberal feminist. She believes in child care rights. She believes in education and a lot of other social democrat centered shit that even rednecks in Missouri believe in. You gotta know, rednecks in Missouri believe in a lot of shit that they believe in. They don't have representation because we live in a Catholic dictatorship. So she supports standard shit that people in Missouri voters want, but we don't get. And people consider her a progressive, even though she's straight up been calling for war. And if it's up to her, we'll be in global war with Russia. Like, these leaders be saying shit, and the government like, man, you can't do that, bro. You can't do that. And she's one of the main person cheerleading Finland joined NATO, right? And I'm showing this article because I'm showing you guys how this I'm gonna show you guys, because I just searched her name. You see, that's the article I pulled up, the global progressive icon. That's her, and the people on the right, if you look on Twitter, all the right wing people like, oh my God, this socialist commie has fallen.
Oh my!
She's a
Man,
socialist and a commie, but
the
also a
Twilight
globalist.
Zone.
No, for real, CJ, if you're ever bored, look at what the right wing says about her. Like, she's a socialist communist, but she's also a globalist. Like,
What's gonna happen, Nick? We are literally living three different facts.
Yeah.
We're living. Listen, I mean, just using this as a look into how it's one person. You got progressive saying one thing. I know her as a neocon. Then you got them. We got a neocon and a communist and a progressive in the same person.
Well, so
that has to come to a head. That political seeing of reality has to come to a head eventually.
People are seeing it. Like, why do you guys think 50% of Americans don't vote? People like my sister told me. I tell you guys the story all the time. She can't do an hour live stream. She can't write an article in Substack explain her feelings while she knows political process is rigged. She just knows it's bullshit. She told me. She's like, not into politics. I know it's bullshit. I know they're hustling me. Because people, they see these contradictions, they see it out play out, and they just know it feels wrong, right? But once again, the ruling class, they don't need everyone on board. They just need the willing sheep and everyone else passive enough not to do anything about it, right? So this is the person she lost to. Once again, I can't emphasize enough. Also, a NATO simp, also supports welfare cuts, and also enemy of poor people in general. This is a tweet I saw earlier because this is another example of social democrats and liberals enabling the right. You had Sanna Marin, who created an energy crisis by waging economic war against Russia, had multiple press conferences where she licking the boots of Zelensky, essentially pledged loyalty to Ukraine. And then when you look at the polls, because I was doing research this morning, in the polls, the economy was the number one issue, not Ukraine. In Finland. Meanwhile, she's doing press conferences every day. Yeah, we sending more money to Ukraine. Yeah, we need to support Ukraine. Yeah, I know we got to really sacrifice for Ukraine. I know energy price is going to be high, but we really got to sacrifice and grit our teeth and beat Putin. Meanwhile, people are feeling like, man, bro, this economy shit is crazy. And because of that, the relationship between more people paying more in energy prices and the economy suffering in Europe because their economic war with Russia, that directly loses to her. That's number 4. Losing the election. How many of these neoliberals have fallen ever since people said Putin must go? Putin must go. Let's see how I find my friend.
Don't you have a picture? Somebody put a picture
I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you
together.
I'm gonna write the segment up soon because there are a few more things I'll add to this. This is ever since Putin launched his invasion of Ukraine. It was like, man, Putin made such a miscalculation. It's over for Putin. There's people, and they will never admit it now, because I was watching these people like a hawk, man. This is super interesting times for me. And I've seen people say, man, Putin might be out of office in a year. There's going to be a lot of Russian discontent. People in government going to be tired of him, and they're going to oust Putin. The exact opposite. Boy, more popular than ever. Russia is expanding their global influence. And this is the meme. Putin must go. Who must go? And this is literally a meme template. Like, there's so many examples of these. I will show you guys the other one. Yeah, because there's so many of these leaders. I'm gonna show you guys. This is the Zelensky curse I was talking about. I spoiled the first one. Forget about.
Oh, that's the one. Zelensky curse one. Yeah, that's the one I saw.
I could have found a better picture than this one for her. This one kind of. I noticed it later. Like, damn, that's not a good quality picture. But you guys see, she had multiple. Like, Google her and Zelensky. I was like, damn, how many pictures y'all have together? Y'all homie. Like, I didn't take that many pictures with my friends when I was a teenager. Like, back in the MySpace days, we didn't take any pictures together. And she's taking with Zelensky. So I posted another one because I went another high quality one. But look at the Zelensky curse. Yes, Sanna Marin that just lost. The greatest prime minister of all time, Liz Truss. In the UK, the GOAT.
Forgot about her.
No one can convince me she's not the greatest of all time. The most hilarious politician I've ever seen in my life. But she got in office, crashed the economy immediately. I'm sorry, I don't want to write too much. That shit was the funniest shit I've ever seen. Boris Johnson, who's trying to sneak his way back into power, apparently. UK politics is ridiculous. I talked to UK politics a lot when I was in Seattle. When they had Mike Foster down there, he was apparently, like, now I'm a little bit behind, but apparently They did it. They got Jeremy Corbyn to possibly support independent. I gotta be careful. I gotta look into it. I just saw that as a headline. But he was big in the UK politics. Boris Johnson, big Zelensky bootlicker. He was the guy who, when Zelensky, like a few months into the war, Ukraine, a few months into the war, they was like, man, what's our long-term strategy here? Maybe we should talk to Putin. And Boris Johnson was like, no, you don't. Nah, you're not having none of that. So he probably one of the biggest war cheerleaders. Boris Johnson is gone. Gone. And now I'm saying, what coming up next? Emmanuel Macron.
Yeah, there's no way he's gonna win. There's no way he's gonna win. What he did with the pension, and you see, he like those people in the general strike gonna go, oh, okay, let's vote for him. Let's vote him back in the office. Come on, man. No way he's gonna win.
He's next. You're definitely next, Macron. And the final boss, maybe.
Yes,
that's the final boss.
There's no way. There's no way. Up. He barely. Listen, he barely beat Donald Trump, the one that's just crazy, and they say, oh, he's just terrible for democracy. He barely beat Donald Trump because there was a pandemic. If there wasn't a pandemic where we were locked in, he would have to have campaigned and he would have lost. We would all seen him stumbling and babbling, and he would have lost because he didn't have to campaign. Here we are.
So I'll be 100% honest with you guys. I am not good at predicting electoral politics. Shit makes no sense to me. I don't know. I'm not good at making predictions because it's ridiculous. I would say not looking great for Joe though. not looking great. Just simply
this doesn't mean Trump is great. This doesn't.
Yeah.
That's what people need to. It doesn't mean Trump is great. He was just a better. No, it means that Joe is just that terrible. You know what I'm saying? He is just that terrible.
Also, I want to share this as well. CJ, you want to see how they... I saw so many of these articles. I clipped a few of these because I didn't want to go through all of them live to make the statement go faster. Look at how they write about her, CJ. A law for global feminist politics.
What?
Sanna Marin, the pro-war neocon who wants World War III, who's a shield of weapon manufacturers, her losing is a law for global feminism. Now do you guys know why I hate liberal, underline bold, liberal feminism?
She sounds like Hillary Clinton, and she's put on a pedestal as some sort of feminist or something, as some sort of feminist icon, which is just ridiculous to me. That's like Madeleine, but it's the same people that say Madeleine Albright is a feminist icon. The Anna Kasparians, I think that.
I tell you, man, these white liberal feminists are dangerous to Black lives. Look up historically how white liberal feminists fought against people, Black Americans, looking for their civil rights as well. They are you gotta be a Black radical Marxist feminist. And this liberal feminism shit is dangerous. They like, yeah, we want a woman CEO at head of Raytheon. We got Kamala Harris as vice president. Slay Queen. Amy Klobuchar, man, she was such a great prosecutor.
Yeah.
I love female prosecutors. That's liberal feminism in a nutshell. Not feminism. Can't speak on that. That's liberal feminism. You had Angela Davis that wrote and then had a great lecture. I saw this lecture a long time ago. I need to revisit it because she did a lecture about how white liberal feminism is like a scourge of the earth. Like, bro, she does not hold back. I need to watch that again. But I digress. I'm gonna show this to CJ because it's kind of how they talk about her. She was progressive, she fell. The NATO left is melting down. The fake progressives are melting down because they're like, oh my God, this is another sign of the right wing being emboldened globally and winning. There's a right wing surge. Why do you think that is? A right wing surge that came out of nowhere. That's the consequence of nothing, CJ. This is the response of weak social democrat and liberal response to right wing fascist policies, because a lot of the right wing fascist policy they support as well. You did stream on this. I love the stream you did on this. These neoliberals, social democrats, these liberals, they enable the right like none other. Here's Zoya's Life, explaining because there's a lot of these NATO liberals. Because this is my tweet. My tweet, damn, 66,000 views, blew up because there are a lot of NATO people upset. Because I was like, Twitter, I got to talk a lot of shit on Twitter. I was like, Sanna Marin got destroyed in Finland's elections last night. Placed third place after selling her country out to NATO. And CJ, you want to know what they're saying? They said, oh, man, she didn't get destroyed. She only lost by a few points. Yes, she got in third place. These people will be like, yeah, we only lost by a little bit.
That's what they're saying about Marianne Williamson. She polled 10%. She polled 10%. They're like, look, just like Bernie. Bernie polled 10% with a full field, not with two people. And Bernie's 10% was for Bernie. 3%, Nick, of the 10% is for Marianne. The other 7% of her 10%, Nick, are just probablys. They're maybes.
Yes,
but they put it together to make it look good. But they're going out there, look, 10%, she doubled her. I'm like, my God, you guys are just lying to people. Go ahead.
Liberals are embarrassing with this shit. The same thing with Hillary Clinton. Like, well, technically, we would have beat Trump if it wasn't for the electoral college. Okay, the electoral college is this and you lost. What do these fucking concessions get for you? Like, when Bernie Sanders lost, I was immediately furious. I was immediately in disarray. Immediately had to discover my new strategy. I wasn't like CJ. Oh, damn, Bernie Sanders lost. At least we won 22 states, though. The only people doing that are comfortable people. Man, we won 22 states, though. Who gives a shit?
That is so telling. That is so telling. Because the people who are like, wow, we didn't make it so that I can improve my life, we're not going, at least we won 22 states. It's so telling how, and that's the whole thing behind Marianne Williamson, is that we know we're not going to win, but we're still going to fight. What does that do? What does this do to spend millions of dollars on? Like, it doesn't make any sense, but I digress. Back to the article there. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is, I'm almost done with this segment. This is Zoya's love, Zoya's life, the powerful Zoya. This is a great point because this person was like, why does her NATO stance have anything to do with her loss? Because in my tweet, I was like, bro, this NATO clown got destroyed. They were like, what did NATO got to do with it? The obvious conclusion I said earlier. And then Zoya, great, this is a great point. That's why I want to make sure I show her tweet. Zoya said, because sanctioning Russia created an energy crisis and becoming an official U.S. puppet is economically hurting all NATO allies. Finland entered a recession in the final quarter of 2022 with negative growth. Sanna Marin, the social democrat, you want to know what she did, CJ? She took a neutral country, turned it into a NATO goon, and turned it into a build-a-wall style American vassal. Yes, the progressive left, the people who are pro-immigration apparently, the people who like abolish ICE, Finland and Sanna Marin, their entire thing was build the wall, build that wall, build that wall. Sanna Marin was taking advantage of Russia. CJ, she was taking advantage of Russia. I want you to continue, but she's taking advantage of Russia is xenophobia in her country. And she was trying to use that for political gain. The same thing that Trump and the right wing did. Look for real, look at this headline. Finland begins construction of barrier wall along with Russia. And guess who was cheerleading for this? The progressive icon. Build that wall. Build that wall. Build that wall.
What does the NATO left say about this?
No coverage.
What do they say about this? This is the thing. This is why it's so. We have to understand it is dangerous teaming up with these people. They're telling us the Trump supporter is our enemy. They are. Look what's happening, man. Like, this is so absurd. They're not even covering. They're pushing a neocon as a progressive. What does that mean? What does that say about what they think about internationalism? What does that mean? What they think about imperialism?
Look at this. Sorry, my bad, CJ. But this quote here, this trend, the trend is gonna be devastating. I tell you, I cope by laughing, guys. This shit is bad. Don't get it twisted. This shit is bad. Neoliberals and progressives being sellouts and enabling the right will hurt everybody. But laughing is my comfort. Like, when I'm laughing on this shit because I'm hurting inside. Look at this. This is how Orpo beat Marin. And CJ, what does this sound like? What election does this sound like about to happen? Orpo accused Marin, Orpo's the guy who beat Marin, of eroding Finland's economic resilience at a time when Europe's energy crisis, driven by Russia's war in Ukraine, has hit the country hard and the cost of living has increased. So this right-winger was like, man, look at Sanna Marin, the progressive Democrats and these social Democrats. They are responsible for your cost of living crisis, and they are socialists. Hey, look at AOC. They love Sanna Marin. These socialists are responsible for the rise of your energy crisis, hence why they are winning. And guess who's going to criticize the progressive left in an upcoming U.S. election on this? This is going to be Marjorie Taylor Greene versus AOC, guys. This is going to be Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. And then they're going to blame us for when they lose. Like, I see you, Bryce. Somehow it's going to be Russia's fault. See that comment in the corner of my eye. But I think I got one more. I'm going to finish this segment. I'll just quickly read the last two receipts I have. Max Blumenthal. I saw a lot of his coverage on Santa. Like, if you want to see someone roast Sanna Marin, check out Max Blumenthal. This dude has ripped her to shreds multiple times. So this is one of the most recent times. The NATO left being pro-Nazi, CJ. And I'm cutting it short. I can go on her all day. Like, I'm so glad to see her lose. Obviously not glad because like we all lose no matter what, but it's fucking funny. I'll just say that. Finnish Prime Minister Sanna Marin laid flowers for ultra-nationalist Banderite, the Nazi commander, right sector, who joked that his dog ate the bones of Russian children. And this is Sanna Marin who laid flowers and eulogizing this guy. Real shit. This is a Nazi, a Banderite violent thug who is treated as a hero in Ukraine and in Finland. But tell me more about how you guys are on the right side of history by supporting these people. CJ, any last thoughts you guys have on here? I'm gonna turn my camera off.
Yo, but what you're saying about this Nazi, this is what I'm saying. Like, it goes back to that article again from the about the DSA. There's no policy position they're willing to throw away to serve the ties to keep the ties that they want to have with the Democratic Party. There's nothing they're willing to sell out. And you were seeing it with Ukraine. We saw it with the breaking of the strikes. We're seeing it. My final word.
Yeah, I'm about to I read this headline earlier. I don't know why I put it at the end of my story. I will read it again. Finland doubling NATO's border with Russia and blow to Putin. Cannot emphasize that enough. This headline's bullshit. It's not a blow to Putin. It's a blow to humanity. It's a blow of the global working class and people who are friends of peace. They're not, though. They're like, we got him. We got our war. We got him. We got him. That's what they're happy about. So that's my last thoughts. CJ, I know you have a few stories. You can try.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and bring up the AOC story.
Yeah,
but let me just shout out
that one. It's good. It's good we cover AOC now because I'm telling you guys, Sanna Marin is exactly what AOC is patterned her career after. But from her stances on war and military, her nonsense bullshit push and focus on the cultural war instead of substantive goods. That is what AOC is trying to become. But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, so we have the political story, and I'm going to put it up here right now on the screen.
And I'm glad we covered this because I haven't read it yet. I saw the headline. I was like, oh, here we go again. So this is going to be good.
Yeah, I just happened to be, last night I decided, you know what, I'm going to start this week. I'm going to do all my stories from reading. Like sometimes I do clips. I'm going to start all my stories. I'm going to just look for articles. And this was the first article. I was like, wow, they had just dropped. I was like, wow, this is a good day to make this change. Yeah, so we're going to be covering this article right here. But first, let me just do a couple of shout outs to get some announcements done. And I think we got some super chats too to get to.
Oh, yeah.
I'm marked one. I think you marked one. But we're sitting at about 220 or so likes, but we're approaching 400 people. Appreciate it. Let's get to 325. Let's hit that like button. Let's get us to 325 likes. Again, when you hit that like button, it does help us with the algorithm. And as you know, the algorithm is not helping us. Here's our Substack. If you want to know when we go live, you want notifications when we get drop clips, join our Substack and you will get all of that. I forgot to mention earlier, we now have $3.99 memberships on YouTube. We also have Patreon scrolling down at the bottom. And also, last but not least, our GoFundMe launched. So for those asking about transparency with some of our fundraisers, we do have a GoFundMe for that purpose. But if those who still only have like a Venmo and want to use Venmo, we do have a Venmo, and that's Revolutionary Blackout. We're currently raising money for our labor to pay fair labor value. $1,000 is our goal. And Nick, now it's time to get into this story. This one's a doozy.
Yeah, this should be fun.
It's funny because we're gonna be pausing this like we pause videos. They're gonna say stuff. You know how we pause? Hey, hold on. Let me jump in. This story is that ridiculous.
I haven't seen it yet. It's gonna be funny.
We're gonna be pausing in it. But let me read this super chat before we get going. Oh, there's another one. I guess we got 3. So this one here says Kyle Kalinske is a pile of garbage. Wow. We wasn't even talking about him, but they just did that.
Oh man.
Hey, it's still good. Thank you for the super.
Here's a few. I don't know if you saw him.
Thank
you for the $10 disco. I don't know, powerful name. AOC is the best example of why the idea that you can change the Democratic Party from within is a joke. Bernie is also a failure, quickly following the movement that he stopped becoming independent. And that's why the people who have the strategy, I'll just quickly speak on this, of taking on the Democratic Party, they're extremely upset at us, extremely upset at Jimmy Dore. Motherfuckers furious about Jimmy Dore, furious about Glenn Greenwald, furious about Matt Taibbi. The people that if you disagree with me and you want the strategy of taking over the Democratic Party, there is no one you should be more upset with than AOC and Bernie Sanders. They pull the ladder up. It's going to be hard for every single progressive to get elected after them because everyone see how aggressively they sold out. And we're not doing it again. So the people who more upset at us, now you need to shift your focus on the people who really hurting the strategy. We just got 30,000 subscribers. AOC and Bernie really fucking you guys up because people are not buying no more because of this article. Actually, one more super chat and then we can speak more on that. This is $10 from YepX, common supporter of the show. Big shout out to them. News: Robert F. Kennedy. Oh shit! It's suing Joe Biden. Probably not going to go anywhere, but it's still pretty newsworthy. Anthony Fauci, the FBI, and 55 other government officials. Bro, I'm going to say this. Then they increased that man's security. Man, Robert F. Kennedy. Make sure you write a manifesto that say you will never kill yourself. Put that out there. That's all. I am a pessimist on this. So I don't think anything that goes through the establishment is going to work. You see how Robert F. Kennedy is suing the Biden administration? Okay, yeah, you're gonna beat him by his own rules. Good luck with that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it would be hilarious if you won. Let's be realistic, though. We see. I just don't see that go anywhere. But that is a very newsworthy story, though. I will say that. But CJ, I pass to you.
Absolutely. So, Aaron, we can begin this because I know we're gonna cut this segment, so we can begin here. Yeah. The evolution of AOC, this is a brand new article, not even out 24 hours on Politico. And we're going to change it a little bit, but let me read what it says. It says from agitator to insider. I would switch that up to say from activist to Shill. That's what I would say. And it's the evolution of AOC. The New York Democrat is in a wide-ranging interview, tackled her really surreal start in Congress and the space she carved out in the party.
Let me explain something that they definitely not going to explain. This article I can tell already. Well, AOC is making this rightward pivot and becoming a party insider because she had nowhere else to go. she already lost the left. So, and I saw this political calculus in real time. Like around time forced the vote happened, especially the Ukraine war where her votes were exposed. And then that's why, remember when we talk about the rail strike, when it was like, why would they possibly do that? I'm like, bro, they already know they lost the left. At that point, they going full establishment now. And anyone who's still supporting them, at that point, they're like, you must be the bootlicker of the highest order. You're not going anywhere. At that point, the people who still consider themselves left, who like AOC, she know they ain't going nowhere. So she can do whatever the fuck she wants now. That's why she's pivoting to the center. And I bet you, I ain't read the article, but I bet you they won't explain that. But go ahead, CJ.
No. If you were betting, you would win on that. So let's continue. Or let's begin. This is actually, let me say who the writers are. It's by Nicholas Wu and Jordan Carney. I think that's how you pronounce the first name, Jordan Carney. AOC arrived in Washington as the ultimate Democratic disruptor. 4 years into her House career, she's embracing a new role, 18 player. So you already know, Nick, what this is going to be, what point of view this is going to be written by. I mean, we knew that in the title, but you kind of know. So this article is meant to dress up, Nick, the right-wing pivot. That's what this article is meant to do. So let's continue.
Yeah. Like, it's almost like a victory dance, too. Like we got her. Like, they were still scared. Like, we knew she was a fraud for a long time, but the liberal establishment, they're so fucking brainwashed. They were still scared. Like, I don't know about her yet. But now you got people like Jennifer Rubin. You got people from the Lincoln Project. They all like and retweet her now. They 100% accept now, but you can continue.
They feel comfortable that she's not going to turn on them, is what that is. So the co-founder of the Progressive Squad, who rocketed to prominence with her willingness to take on party leaders when others on the left would not, is acquiring power via more traditional means now. I have to stop here. Like I said, I'm going to be stopping this.
What?
You see how they're dressing this up here?
Yes. Like, what? What power does she have?
That part. Go ahead.
I know you got a lot of chiming on this too, but this is
ridiculous. No, I'm saying that
you're already
part
breaking me. I'm saying you're already breaking me. Literally one paragraph in, and I am breaking already. So, what power does AOC has? They are implying that AOC made a great move because otherwise she wouldn't have political power, but now she does. She's been relegated to just doing media appearances, apologizing for Joe Biden. She has no power at all. But according to them, being accepted by the establishment and all the perks that has is power. It doesn't matter if she get anything done. We don't care about that kind of power. We're talking about how entrenched you are with the establishment. So when I read this, my mind is blown because there's so many layers to this propaganda, CJ. They're saying so many things at once here. Saying that she has a good strategy, and they also hiding the fact that she's been completely inefficient, and this is the best way of doing things. But anyway, let's continue because I'm sure this.
That's what I'm saying. It's layers on layers.
Yeah.
Like right here, how just in a couple of words they put so much bullshit in a couple of words. So, but let's continue. Let's see where we stop again. She snagged a senior position on a Plum committee, putting her in close proximity to top Democrats. Now,
what progressive policy? What did that lead to? Like what left power did that lead to? What progressive policy did that lead to? Joe Biden is literally increasing fracking and public drilling. He shut down and vetoed a criminal justice reform that was being passed in DC. Like this man has shifted to the right and done a ton of right-wing stuff. Nothing progressive is being done. But they were like, oh my gosh, you got this Plum committee. Like what does that mean in terms of power for the left? It doesn't.
And Nick, we can add another thing to her resume. She's being used as the person to get in line the future AOCs that were just recently, get those motherfuckers in line. By the establishment is using her to get them in line with this next sentence. I think that's what it describes. At a recent party retreat, she coached fellow Democrats on how to up their communication game. How to get in good with the Nancy Pelosi of the world, which is selling out and sending money to Ukraine. What other communication style can she actually teach somebody? Have you seen her word salad videos? What communication could she teach anybody?
And once again, talking about power, AOC is more unpopular than Kamala Harris, guys. What power do you have? Your people power is gone. She did a fucking a political event, empty ass fucking auditorium. Her public events are a joke. What they mean by political power completely back. I see A1 in the comments. I see you guys talk. This is one of many. You guys see it. When they say power, they mean her bank account, not real political power. Mm-mm. Sorry, go ahead, CJ. This is all I say on this.
No, there is. We're like I said, we're gonna be stopping this shit a lot because I've read it now. Literally, it's probably an article that should take about 7 minutes to read. It took me like 30. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, every time. So, but let's continue. After, and after years on and off sparring with former Speaker Nancy Pelosi, AOC is forging ties with new Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, a fellow New Yorker whose centrist instincts aren't always aligned with hers. Now, they're dressing up a whole lot of shit. So this is time for propaganda report because, Nick, this is our time to analyze propaganda the opposite way. We're usually analyzing propaganda from right-wing neocons like Morning Joe. This is them trying to dress up even Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries is a neocon piece of SOB, if you get what I'm saying. But listen to how they even describe. Not that he's a centrist, he just has centrist instincts, Nick. That's them trying to downplay it. His centrist instincts.
Oh, Jesus Christ. They got this article, I'll let you continue, but this article is exactly why I say Americans are so propagandized. They have no idea what the political compass and Overton window actually is. Like people like Kamala Harris is a progressive. These people are centrist. Like King Jeffries is centrist. Like it's unbelievably ridiculous. He's a Zionist, a puppet of Wall Street against Medicare for all. Guys, you guys know the majority of Republicans support Medicare for all. Hakeem Jeffries is to the right of the Republican Party on healthcare. Not the elected officials. He is to the right of the Republican Party on criminal justice. 1 out of 3 conservatives, people who consider themselves ultra conservative. So I'm assuming these are the MAGA people. I'm the only person who reported on this poll, CJ. The only person in media. There was a poll. They broke it down by political angle. Liberals are more pro-police than people who are ultra conservative. 1 out of 3 said they support defunding police. Hakeem Jeffries is to the right of at least 1 out of 3 Republicans. A lot of them support decriminalizing marijuana. So many reforms that Hakeem Jeffries doesn't support. It goes on and on. So the Overton window is a joke. Joe Biden is supposed to be a centrist, but Republicans, the far-right fascist party, but Joe Biden is to the right of Republican voters on criminal justice, on marijuana, on health care, on military spending. Like all the Republicans who support ending military spending, to the right of those people. So there is a massive, and this is on purpose, purposeful, there's an effort to get people confused about what these terms mean, what it means to be on the left, what it means to be a progressive, what it means to be on the right. Anyway, I'll let you continue. I'll spare you guys.
No, great points. Great points. Politico goes on to say her evolution is driven partly by a new political reality for her party. This is the new reality they're talking about, Nick. Democrats lost the House last year, and progressives have found a lot to like in Joe Biden's first 2 years in the White House. But AOC's shift also comes as the 33-year-old lawmaker is mulling her next steps. This is her in her own office, by the way. In a lengthy recent interview in her Capitol Hill office, AOC couldn't rule out any number of options, from challenging Senator Kirsten Gillibrand for the Senate seat next year. Don't ask me that question.
I haven't heard that name in a long time.
She said, "Don't ask me that question. Print that." She said with a laugh. So I guess she said, "Don't ask me the question about running against, and make sure you print it so Christian understands." I said that. Is that what she's saying right here? Go ahead.
AOC is she regrets so much. She turned to Kamala Harris. She said, "Don't ask me that question. Print that." She said with a laugh. Like she's just cackling, just like Kamala Harris. Where the punchline here? She's just saying awkward shit and laughing. That's how people are regressing. That's why you are more unpopular than Kamala Harris. AOC. Don't ask me that question. Print that. Ha 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 ha. That's what they're doing now. You wonder why you're so unpopular. You wonder why the Republicans and they are able to convince people that you are a dumbass because of shit like this. Let's continue.
Okay, to remaining in the House for the long haul, that's the third option, or perhaps leaving Congress entirely.
I don't believe it.
And it continues. Here's her quote. There's a world where I'm here for a long time in this seat, in this position. There's a world where I'm not an elected official anymore. There's a world where I may be in higher office. And there's a world where I'm a clown.
You gotta be kidding. You gotta be kidding. I did not read this before. She legitimately sounds like Kamala Harris right now. She said nothing here. Remember what Kamala Harris like, we have concerns, and my concern is the concerns that you guys have. Her answer said, I'm literally clicking reading this. There's a world where I'm here for a long time in this seat. There's a world where I'm not elected official. There's a world where I'm maybe in the high. Will you answer the damn question? Those 3 sentences where you're saying nothing. Oh, Jesus Christ.
This is what Marianne Williamson does, though, too. I can see it both ways. I see when she doesn't want to answer foreign policy questions, she does that a lot in her answers. So, man, but this is so funny. It's funny but sad, like because they're being serious. But it's almost like an SNL sketch. Like I'm reading a script to me. But let's continue. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You can continue. I don't get it.
AOC's shift suggests a potential exchange of one type of power, her penchant for internal pot stirring and the outsized media attention that comes with it, for a more conventional kind of influence. We have to examine that. We have to stop here. We have to stop here.
I want you to finish.
Let me read that again. Let me read that part again, then.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Because this is the selling of some just garbage right here. AOC shift suggests a potential exchange of one type of power. So it's saying, hey, hold on, guys. She's not selling out. She's shifting the power. She's just saying, take this tool that I use for power and give me a different one. So, and this is the two that they describe. This is how they describe it. Her penchant for internal pot stirring. She hasn't had that, Nick, since she protested in front of Pelosi's literally years ago.
And that's what I was about to chime in with. That there's so many layers to this, CJ, like I said, of lying. One of the ways that they lie here is they say there's an exchange of one type of power. One type of power. One is a tangible thing. You mean zero, because she had no power. So what they're implying is her Twitter shit posting, her performative politics where she used to stand at the border when Trump was in office, that gave her power. We see objectively, we know objectively that is not true. The Democratic Party has shifted to the right and they tamed her and turned her into a loyal Democrat. What power did she have before following this strategy where she's like weak on the Democratic Party? She pretend this article, this is why this is layers to this, CJ. They pretend that's an effective strategy. Our argument is what she was doing before wasn't even effective. So then they said she was doing this one effective strategy of having power. Now she shifted to another effective way of having power, being a PR agent of the Democratic Party. And we all know that's bullshit. And it also ignores the inconvenient fact of AOC's voting record, which is straight up in line with Biden's administration policies. Ukraine war funding, strike breaking. Like there's so many, I'll pass it to you, CJ, because there's so many layers of lies in this first long sentence of this paragraph here. But I'll pass it to you and then we can analyze further.
Nick, this is really trying to sell the progressive reader, because that's who reads these people. And this is giving them a reason to go, this is why AOC is a right winger. It's like they're what they're doing here, Nick, is that they're saying that the strategy of being adversarial, they're trying to explain why she's not going to be doing that. They're trying to describe that as power. That was her power when it didn't produce anything because she didn't do it long enough. They're trying to say she's no longer doing that part, everybody. She's doing this powerful thing. She's using this powerful tool now. Go ahead.
Question for you, CJ, and question for A1 in the chat. How long until Sam Cedar repeats this? How long until we do a segment? You're going to see one of these boutique legends. How long until Kyle Kalinske repeats this verbatim? Like, man, actually, you guys are wrong by AOC. She actually not selling out. She actually changed her power. She actually shifting. Dude. Like, you just see these people say it real quick.
This is their guy. This is this is like the cavalry is coming. This is their Paul Revere running through the neighborhood saying, "Hey guys, here's the newspaper. The new talking points have arrived. Here's special delivery." That's what this is. This is so slimy. Let's continue though.
Yeah, go ahead.
She's switching the pot stirring, the adversarial for this more conventional kind of influence. So whether AOC 2.0 is actually more powerful than the previous one isn't clear yet. She and Jeffries have not yet locked arms the way that Kevin McCarthy and Marjorie Taylor Greene did ahead of his push to lock down the House top gavel. Not that AOC accepts any comparison between herself and the right flank of the GOP. And they said that because here's her quote, "There are people, including moderates, who sometimes try to draw this completely unfair false equivalence between progressives and, frankly, the fascists that we see in the Republican Party." She's mad that people are comparing her to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Nick, go ahead.
I want you to continue, but what does that say, man? She's like, man, you know how Marjorie Taylor Greene and they're being rowdy, they causing a ruckus. People thought we was gonna do that, man. We're not trying to do that shit, man. We just trying to get along. We trying to nibble around the outside, get what you guys can give us. This is such a mission, and Shama Sawant, I love her to death because she did not let AOC get away with this giant political mishap that she had when she said, unlike Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz and these people, they are harming their relationships. They're doing relational harm. And Shama brings that shit up all the time. So she said that's like one of the most revealing things she ever said. Yeah. Because that shows that her number one priority is her relationships in Washington, not getting wins for the working class, which is everything. Let's continue because once again, I'm sure this is gonna invoke a lot of like bullshit, like bullshit.
They're gonna come out and see this is their new talking line that they're gonna be going with.
Yeah, we get you guys ready. Like RBN is here to get out in front and warn you guys. We warn you guys about Marianne Williamson. We warn you guys about the NATO left. We are here to get out in front so you guys can be ready, right? But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, and I'm loving it with the Marianne Williamson, Nick. I'm going to like new tweets about Marianne, and I'm seeing other people in there dropping receipts. Like, what y'all ain't we ain't buying this bullshit. Like people that follow us, I'm seeing them exactly in the comments doing that, dude. Go ahead.
Fam, I've seen exactly what you have seen. I have seen a lot of people go hard on Marianne Williamson the last like 3 to 4 days. Like maybe the last week. There was no one doing that before we was.
Yeah.
Like it was one of the things like, I guess we leave her alone. They're not worth it. Then we went after now see a ton of people like, fuck, you see what Marianne Williamson said to this reparation activist? You see what she said about Ukraine here? Now people like we almost made it acceptable. Like people was almost afraid of crossing the serfs, the TYT left, right? And then we don't give a fuck. They don't like us. We just told now it opens the lane to more people to say that. But anyway, let's continue.
I absolutely agree. Continue. Politico goes on to say AOC's new profile also isn't without risk, though. The Democratic base doesn't typically reward an ability to work with the inside levers of Congress. You see how these despicable people describe selling out the worker.
That is exactly how Jesus. That is exactly what that is. Yes. Oh my God. Those unreasonable brats. Those unreasonable brats. They mad that they doing a little selling out. They doing you rubbing shoulders with Nancy Pelosi. You upset with that? Yes. Yes. You upset because she voted a little bit for NATO funding. Yes, you broke a strike. Are you mad about that? Yes. Why wouldn't we be? This is insane, and this is their mindset. How long is
Wow.
Sam Cedar and then repeat this? I can't wait. Can't wait.
This is so a propaganda article meant to cover the next years as she shifts to the right more and more, as she takes on more leadership. This is so, because that's who political is like. A lot of the NATO left read Political. And I mean, they read a lot of other stuff like Jacobin, but they read Political it also. But let's continue, Nick. But the influence she can accrue by playing Congress inside track may prove to be a potent as the saturated level media exposure she would forego in the process. Let me say that. Let me read that again, because this is really them. This is a pivotal part in the article where they're really trying to psychologically sell you and change what you would normally logically what conclusion you would come to with her moving right. They're trying to take your logic out, Nick, and insert something else. That's what they're doing here. Let me read this part again. But the influence she can accrue by playing Congress's inside track may prove to be as potent as the saturation level media exposure she would forego in the process. So she would forego the media exposure of the other way. That's what they're trying to say, Nick, is she's giving up that media exposure of being adversarial.
Another completely trash argument by this article. So, for one, who did they call at the State of the Union address? Rachel Maddow. The prime time after the State of the Union. AOC. They are arguing that AOC sacrificed something. No, she's now going to get rewarded with access and privilege. She's going to be the MSNBC Rachel Maddow guest. She's going to be the talking head of the Democratic Party, and she's going to be accepted within their circles. Now, she did deny media coverage, but not the way she said. That's why this article is trash on so many levels, because she did decline media coverage, but that's because of the first strategy. The first strategy, how many independent media shows she been on, CJ? Shows that lick her boots. Shows that apologizing for every day. She still don't go on their shows. So in her first strategy, she refused media coverage. The same thing they accusing her of doing in her second, which she is not doing, because she now got a primetime spot on Maddow and CNN, joking around with Anderson Cooper a few months ago. So this article, it meant to be propaganda, but it shields itself under analysis and commentary. But as I explained to you guys, the commentary does not even make sense. That's how you know it's pure propaganda. They're just using the commentary and the analysts to hide it because it doesn't make sense.
No, not at all.
AOC, when she was based on this article's logic, being a renegade, if she was really being a renegade, being a pot stirrer, what stopped her from going on Jimmy Dore's show? Hell, I raise you further. Doesn't have to be Jimmy. He's too rude. He's too mean. Doesn't go for civility politics. She doesn't even talk to Kyle Kalinske. Kyle Kalinske got bullied from Bernie. Bernie kicked him off his own show. These people did not use independent media, which you can argue, especially during the height of 2019, 2020, had more views than corporate media, CNN, right? Mm-hmm. So why didn't they use that? That was the question. They even Emma Vigeland and them asked, like, man, it's kind of crazy. They don't go on our show. We still bootleg for them though, but we can't even get them on our shows. Anyway, it takes a long time to explain how ridiculous this is. But anyway, let's continue, CJ.
Because they can't even go on those shows, because even on a friendly show, the mere asking of a question can bring out, and we see this with Marianne Williamson and Jordan on Status Quo. Like, he wasn't trying to expose her. He was just literally trying to baby step her to an answer, and she exposed herself. And I think that's kind of like what AOC doesn't want to do. I did skip down a little bit because there's a little bit of fluff there, but let's get back to the same storyline. AOC is operating in a much different place now, and nothing encapsulates that repositioning more than her ascension to a top role on the oversight committee. Her role as vice-ranking member has helped Democratic leadership bring her closer inside their tent and allowed her to assert herself as an institutional force while still channeling the energy she brought as a 29-year-old newcomer. You see how they're trying to say she's shifting, but she's still going to have that energy. Go ahead, Nick.
How is this any different from political fan fiction? Like, you just wrote a story in your Substack that's completely devoid of reality. You might as well write a story about how AOC and Bernie Sanders went to a picnic together. Like, this is as fiction as that. Like, it's ridiculous. Let's continue.
And look what this says. At the same time, she made it clear, Nick. Made it clear she's going to reserve the right to hold the Biden administration accountable, especially in policy areas where she sees the president's team as occasionally, nigga. Occasionally, Nick. Occasionally, wait.
Come on.
Occasionally, man. This is so sick.
Come on.
Lord,
Damn, there's no way. There is no way. Joe Biden, the person who is funding the border industrial complex more than Donald Trump, deported more people than Donald Trump, is occasionally weak on immigration. When you guys see the problem of these people, when Donald Trump was in charge, he was a fucking fascist, racist. That was the thing, guys.
With the same policies. We got to make sure we understand that. Same policy, different description change. Go ahead, Nick.
No, go ahead, man. You said it. Like, that's perfect. That was what I'm saying. Like, she was literally crying, did a photo op, crying at the border when you had bitch out to Kid. Kid gonna join me on Saturday. Let's fucking go. Let's go. Kid join me on Saturday. That's gonna be fire. But anyway, AOC does a social media photo up of her crying on the border when Donald Trump was there, but under Joe Biden, occasionally weak. What does that even mean? Like, are you standing for human rights or not? Like, how can you be casually weak on human rights? Like, you either for human rights or not. Like, that is the highest level. Like, Steve Mnuchin, fucking.
He's occasionally for some slavery. He's occasionally for some slavery. That's all, Nick. Come on, man. This is what you have to do, though, Nick. When you decide to team up with imperialists, when imperialists do weak things, or when imperialists be imperialists, you have to be like, oh, they're weak on some things, some areas. This is the cozying up to imperialist capitalist party that you have to do leadership.
Man,
selling out. Now, I'll end it with this last sort of couple of paragraphs here. This section here is bonding with Raskin. AOC's rise on the committee is in part thanks to the partnership with Maryland Rep. Jamie Raskin, the top Democrat on the panel who led the push to impeach former President Donald Trump after the January 6th riot. The former constitutional law professor and former bartender Bond began during the last Congress when they worked together on an oversight panel. Quote, people don't see the academic nerd side of her, said Raskin, who is at 60 is nearly twice AOC's age. Quote, but I totally do as a professor, end quote. As her posture towards Democratic leadership, they're still figuring each other out. She noted that her sometimes prickly relationship with Pelosi caused consternation at times. Quote, this is the ending quote. I own that I was very critical of our party leadership. Yes,
get the fuck out of here.
End quote.
Get the fuck out of here.
Though AOC said her relationship with the new batch of Democratic leadership is still evolving, she acknowledged a significant shift in the dynamic with party leaders. She attributed, at least in part, it to an influx of new liberal, younger, more diverse members who are more natural allies. She's saying they have the same policies, but Hakeem Jeffries had brown skin, so that's her natural ally, so she can get along better with them. But she's taking ownership, Nick. She was too critical. She was very critical on leadership.
Imagine the narcissism it takes for you to do what AOC does every single day. Like you imagine you like, yeah, man, I own the fact. Yeah, I heard people criticize me for being too handsome. Yeah, I apologize for being too good looking, man. I know I'm too relatable. I own that, okay? No, she won her reputation to be that she hard on party leadership. You are not hard on Mama Bear, AOC. Who do you think you're tricking? Who do you think you're tricking? Yeah, man, I know people say this awesome physique I have, man. I know, man, I own it. I own this awesome physique I have. No. You're like, this is like the biggest narcissistic behavior that I've seen. And it's like blatant gaslighting. And the fact that Politico wrote the story that is doing propaganda on behalf of AOC to set everything you should know about her. Like this article is meant to prop her up. Will they prop up someone they're afraid of? No, they will say you're actually attending secret communist school. Like
they would lie about you like that way. So let me read this last part. This is the very last sentence of the article. And I had to read it because of the last quote. And it's the last part that you can't see yet. And you're going to see it in a second. If AOC's growing involvement in internal party strategy is chipping away at her younger liberal affection for her, meaning if she's losing those left people, it didn't show in the reverence with which Frost, in the reverence that Max Frost described her mentorship. Among the lessons he learned from her, he said, was being a badass motherfucker, Nick.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Someone. Oh, Jesus Christ. You mean the guy who voted against? You mean the guy who voted against ending the Syrian occupation?
Yes.
That's the person you name drop. The person who voted against ending Syrian sanctions. The person who infiltrated a left Palestinian group and lied about his position on the two-state solution in BDS. Maxwell Frost is as big as a scumbag as it gets in Washington. Who's that guy who lies all the time?
Day one.
What's that? Do you know that guy who lies? Fuck, why I'm blanking on that guy's name? He lied and got elected, and liberals are freaking out about him. Why I forgot?
George Santos.
Yes. So people think George Santos, and I'm not saying he's not a piece of shit, but people think George Santos is the worst of Washington. He is not. Maxwell Frost is as bad as it gets. You guys know Maxwell Frost infiltrated a Palestinian organization, lied to them in order to get political power, in order to get email lists, in order to get a phone number, in order to get donations. And then as soon as he got the nomination, he's like, lose my number. Delete, blocked all of them. Like, oh, who are you? I don't know you. Oh, that BDS shit, I was bullshitting. That Tuesday lose. Nah, bro. Not doing that. Nah. Bro, how is that not as bad as it gets in terms of political corruption? I view that as Joe Manchin level. I view that as Josh Hawley level. I view that as George Santos level scumbaggery. But AOC just name dropping the guy. My young mentor, my project. You know that guy was a scumbag. I'm responsible for that. Tone deaf.
That article was completely, and this will be my final words on it. Yeah. That article was completely, Nick, to sell. That's not for the average person. That is literally to sell left people who still have like left-leaning, I'm going to say, not radical left, but left-leaning people who still are like, man, I want some sort of progress, and who still wants to believe in the AOC. Like they see, you know what I mean? Like you see, you know, your spouse is cheating on you. You see the numbers, you see the text, but you just want to be like, please don't be true. Have a reason for all of this stuff. And that's what this article is for, to give that person, and that's all of Bernie Sanders' complex, because they want to believe in this. That's all of Bernie. So they're going to read this and be like, yeah, AOC is just switching her power tool. Yeah, that's all. That's all she's doing. That's what this is about.
Yeah, they give them the talking points that they need. They give them the talking points they need. That's what this article is for, not for us, it's for them to memorize the talking points so they can repeat it. So, a great segment. Make sure you guys like and share the stream. It helped us beat the algorithm we've been being our ass recently. My next story, then my last segment of the day will be this propaganda report. It relates to the United States falling geopolitical influence and the right-wing reaction to it. So that's my. I don't think it's just one video. We see how long it takes, but it shouldn't be too long of a story. My last segment of the day, and I'll pass it to you for the show today.
Yeah,
But
and mine.
other,
I'll see
yeah.
how yours, because I might insert the Marco Rubio.
Yeah, go ahead. No worries. No worries.
Segment. It may. Let's see how what you're saying, and
Yeah,
then I'll see how
we
it
can
insert.
play it out.
Yeah, it may insert here.
Go. But it'd be my last
Go
segment today. But CJ, any announcements that you have real quick before?
Oh yeah, I can do some announcements so you can get it all set up here. So let's hit that like button. We've already hit over 450 people watching, but our likes are lagging, and it's important. That's why I always kind of harp on this, because you think it doesn't help. It absolutely helps in the amount of likes that we get actually during the live stream. It absolutely helps people see our things, our videos a lot more. So we're currently at 340. If we can do another 100, if we can get to 440, so hit that like button if you're here. You know you haven't hit that like button. Hit that like button. Get us to 440 likes. Let me toss up some of your comments as we're doing that. Baby bear, so cute. I think she prefers Mama Bear if we're talking about Nancy Pelosi. That guy that Sabby just interviewed needs to read the MMT literature a bit more. I haven't seen the stream. I was preparing for this, but I will check it out. But she did have a interesting guest earlier. Other thing, join our Substack. Notifications when we go live, when we have those special guests. As Nick said, look for Glenn Greenwald coming back to the network pretty soon. RBN memberships $3.99. Check that out. We also have our website, revolutionaryblackoutnetwork.com. I'll pass it to you, Nick, for your next story, and then I probably have like one more.
Yeah. So we in our intro segment, we covered how African leaders are speaking out against the United States. How Kamala Harris was essentially laughed out of the room when she went to Africa. The United States is quickly losing geopolitical influence, and I made this point quite a few times. It's shocking how incompetent the Biden administration and the liberals are with their. They really think they have this smart geopolitical strategy where they play in 3D chess, right? And they cause the United States to lose an insane amount of power because of their incompetence, because of this miscalculation that they can win an economic war with Russia. They can rule and have peace through sanctions and strength instead of negotiations and peace and trade and commerce. Like, it's ridiculous, the strategy that the Biden administration, Blinken, and the people have been engaged in. So I saw this because Nico tweeted this out, and this is actually quite shocking. Like, I'm actually shocked at this. Japan breaks with U.S. allies, purchases Russian oil. So we've been covering a lot about the fall of the petrodollar, the rise of China, and this is freaking. It's so bad. Like, they're not even doing that. Well, the Republicans are, but they're not in general even doing that thing where they take the opposing side. You got to see Trump and DeSantis, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz. They'll take a different position of Biden on Ukraine because it helped maintain the red-blue partisan game. They don't even do that on China. They're like, no, we got the same position, and we're going to compete, and we're going to call the other side weak on China. They're not even hiding the uniparty on China here. Now, this is shocking because the United States has essentially colonized Japan, and Japan has been a obedient United States puppet, and it kind of makes sense considering the United States got military bases all over Japan. They said they respect sovereignty, but they got military bases on Japan, and they often prop up the ruling party. That's why Shinzo Abe was very close with Nira Tanden. Very, very close friends. Do you guys know that? Very close connection with the Hillary Clinton Foundation. It's all one global connected neoliberal scheme, right? So my point being, Japan was and continues to be a puppet state of the U.S. empire. They've been extremely tough on China. They doubled their military spending. So Japan, who swore pacifism after their imperial conquest and their rape of China and rape of Nanjing and other atrocities, they demilitarized. Guess who convinced them to get back in the game? The United States. The United States said, fuck that shit. You better ramp up the arms. We about to go to war with China, buddy. So this is shocking, actually. So this is the headline that I'm leading with. I got a propaganda report for you guys that kind of responds to this kind of stuff. It said Japan breaks with U.S. allies, buys Russian oil at prices above cap. Now, Japan can escalate worse. They can abandon the United States worse than this. They can agree to purchase oil only using wands, right? Or rubles. They ain't gone that far yet, right? They ain't gone that far. But this still is a massive betrayal to the United States, right? With something that actually shocks me. It shows this.
I'm shocked myself, especially considering the timing with how they're ramping up for war with China. This is surprising. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's what I said. I literally said in the tweet, I said, I'm surprised Japan flips, shows how much the United States is fucking up. Or you can also take another take in that. You can also say, because it shows how dominant China is, that even Japan with their constant provocations against China, like doing military drills next to China with the United States and South Korea. And I'm like, man, after what you guys did to China, after what Japan did to China during the conquest of Imperial Japan, look at the rape of Nanjing. That's the one I know the best, but guys, there's a lot more that they did. After what you guys did less than 100 years ago, you guys just take a seat and shut the fuck up about China forever. That's just me. Japan, you guys should be as nice to China as possible for the rest of your existence after what you guys have done. You guys know that China lost Taiwan because of Japanese imperialism. Mm-hmm. There's deep resentment among Chinese people over Japan because of the atrocities. Of course, right? Of course. But that's why this is so shocking. I didn't see this coming. But this is not because Japan has a principled anti-United States position. It's because they have no choice, guys. You understand how checkmated the United States have for this to happen? You think Japan's like, I really dislike Anthony Blinken. I want to get close to Russia. No, they're doing this because they have no choice. And that is powerful. They have countries like India and Japan have to do this in order to keep their economy stable. Now, people who know this are people like this. Now, this is not a long propaganda report. This video only 5 minutes. We see how long it takes to get through it. I'll play, but especially in the beginning, I'll let the beginning play for a bit because they're going to set this up. And this is actually a truthful attack on Biden. Now, we all know the red-blue game is bullshit, but they all use the same attack because the attack is always true. When Donald Trump is president, you had liberals that said Donald Trump is dangerous to the United States because he's weakening the United States presence on the global stage. Do you guys remember that? Remember that line? Do you guys remember under Barack Obama where Sean Hannity and Bill O'Reilly did segments every night like how Barack Obama is destroying the United States standing in the world? Mm-hmm. I remember that as a kid because my grandpa used to have those segments. He used to watch MSNBC all the time. He just flipped between Fox News, just chilling, watching. Now you see those segments. And then Biden took office and they repeating the same talking point because it's always true. It is always true because the United States empire strategy does not change between presidents. But I think that's a good preface. I'm gonna dive into the video now.
One of the many terrible consequences of the Democrats' divisive Get Trump circus is that we're not paying attention to some absolutely seismic and disastrous developments in foreign policy. This week, China made a massive global advance by strengthening its ties with Saudi Arabia, which joined a China-led security.
You see this fear, and keep listening to the fear language this guy continues to use. Their global advance. What are they trying to invoke with using language like that? Their global advance. What did they do? They strengthened global trade ties with Saudi Arabia. Oh my God, China is doing trade with another country? How nefarious! You guys see the language anyway.
Look at the headline. The two distinct words that stand out to me is strengthens and strain. It strengthens relations and strains. That's language used like if somebody's under duress. You're under duress because somebody else is signing an agreement. You see how it's described? Yeah, you see how it's described. But go ahead. That's what
like China will do trade in Africa. They'll do a trade deal in Africa, and they were like, "Oh my God, Chinese imperialism! How dare they expand their global reach in Africa? Only we're allowed to do that." No, for real. I already kind of buried it. I'm gonna let the segment play because I already primed you guys. It's gonna get more ridiculous.
Blog, and signed a multi-billion-dollar energy deal. This comes straight after China brokered a peace deal between Saudi Arabia and Iran.
Oh my God, they brokered a peace deal. How nefarious, CJ. The evil Chinese, what are they up to with peace with Saudi Arabia and Iran?
A massive humiliation, not just for America, but Biden personally. Just listen to what he said in Saudi Arabia in July.
Let me state clearly that the United States is going to remain an active, engaged partner in the Middle East. We will not walk away and leave a vacuum to be filled by China, Russia, or Iran.
But it seems like Biden fist bumped his way out of that promise. But at least we still have our allies in the South, right? Not under Biden. China is advancing there too, as just the other day, China struck a deal with Brazil to ditch the US dollar and use China's currency for trade. Now, investors are being told to prepare for the fall of the petrodollar. We already saw Xi and Putin cementing the China-Russia anti-America alliance and extending it to India. India, the world's largest democracy, which should be 100% in.
Yeah.
Anti-American alliance?
Oh my God.
By definition, them teaming up, it makes it anti-American?
Yes.
Or
countries doing trade without the permission of the United States is anti-American. It is an affront to us for you to try to increase your global geopolitical standing. How dare you oppose U.S. unipolar dominance? That is the unhinged ideology of Lex Luthor here. Like, these people are evil as it gets.
It's such a slave master sort of thinking.
Yeah.
It's such a, what are you doing? Like, everything that is about you is I do. Like, it's through me. It's such that dynamic. Go ahead. Continue.
China-Russia anti-America alliance and extending it to India. India, the world's largest democracy, which should be 100% in our corner. With Trump, that was looking so positive.
Friends, I present to you my friend.
Moody is an anti-labor fascist, by the way.
The President of the United States of America, Mr. Donald Trump. हम सब खड़े होकर के
What are they doing here? They're like, look how great they do under Donald Trump.
Namaste, Trump.
But Biden seems to have alienated everyone with this sanctimonious.
See, the reason why this doesn't make sense, and I will admit, this is a good jab on Biden. Like, in general, this is a good jab on Biden. The problem with your theory coming as a Republican is that Mitch McConnell and every single Republican supports this. Like, there's only a handful. They take those 10 Republicans that don't support it and they blow it up. I mean, don't get me wrong. Those 10 that oppose it are extremely important. That the squad strategy they don't do. That if you only have a handful of people who oppose the system, that means a lot. But and so I'm not saying they're not significant. But what he criticizing Biden for making his tie with India weak, but that is due to the policies that the Republican Party support, and I'm very interested in seeing how things develop because I told you guys, Trump is not going to change. I promise you guys. If I'm wrong, I will have to readdress this, but I promise you guys, the empire does not do drastic changes like this under presidents. He's going to find a way to flip it, and Trump supporters are such bootlickers. All they're trying to do is say is, man, Putin's kind of hinged, isn't he, man? We really got to stand for America first because Putin. Trump, he gotta say just one bullshit thing, and they'll be on board. You know what I mean?
The red and blue team works that way because you saw it with the pandemic and the vaccinations. All of a sudden, everything flipped. Y'all was talking about we can't trust the pandemic, we can't trust no vaccination. Now all of a sudden, y'all saying everybody like you see it, like they just flip.
Yeah, we see if I'm wrong, but I tell you guys, that's my gut instinct. That shit is strong right now. So we see if I'm wrong. My instinct telling me that if Trump wins, that shit is not gonna change on Ukraine. And even like. He will fight. He will have such a massive fight with the Republicans. I just don't see it. Like the Republican establishment wing, and I'm talking about the Mitch McConnell wing, right? That wing, and not even just him. Like, that's actually misleading because there's only like 15 at best, guys. It's not a lot. It's the loud voices, but every other Republican's on it. Like you guys saw when Ron DeSantis stepped down online, and then he crumbled under the pressure of people like Lindsey Graham. And Mitt Romney criticizing him. Guys, I don't know. I don't see Trump really changing, but we see. But let's continue the statement. Let's say it's not a long video, so let's continue it.
Utterly cack-handed foreign policy. This is a really big deal. not least economically. Look at this. The Western Alliance, the
There it is.
G7, just
You
this
got
week,
spoiled, I thought.
overtaken by the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, Saudi Arabia.
They kind of spoiled my. I had this part. I want to show you guys this too. But look at this. This is the real reason for the anti-China fear mongering. I saw this segment from Lauren Ingram, but I am trying to spare you guys. She's one of the people that banned. I don't like. She's one of the people I don't cover. Not worth it. But she had a statement that was almost worth covering. Where the freak out over China was, she had this guy. She was like, "This is a guy who monitors TikTok. He's gonna tell you how China is spying on you through TikTok and why that's harmful for you." Actually, I might do that segment eventually this week. It's so hilarious. They are freaking the fuck out about China. Their whole statement is them trying to scare the shit. They're trying to scare white boomers from China. This is why. Do not get twisted in thinking it's about anything else other than this. BRICS overtakes G7 in global GDP. And they also say, I think it might be this segment. I might be mixing with the Lauren Ingram segment, but one of those two segments definitely do say we cannot have China rise because we cannot show a successful model of communism. I'm like, dude, you literally just said it. You said what we Marxists say as theory. You know what I mean?
Not only, Nick, because it's not only a successful model of capitalism. Look what he's doing. Look what they're doing around the world. It's not. I'm sorry, communism. Yeah, make sure you correct me with that shit. Yeah, yeah. Make sure that shit on video is corrected. But it's not just a successful example. Oh, communism is just working in China. Cool. Like they're in Africa, they're helping everywhere, and that is what is so threatening. Because it's like, damn, now you're freeing your people, and you're going to other houses helping people. It makes them look so bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, and to be clear, I say it like that because that's how they say it, right? They're like, we can't have any of a communist system. You know, China's more of a market socialist system. That's the Chinese Communist Party. We can't have the Chinese Communist Party be successful, even though they're mostly market socialists. They got nationalized bank systems. It's much more efficient system that we have here. Let's continue to say, once again, we only got a little bit here. Now I got just a few more here.
Arabia and a handful of others like Egypt. What's happening to America? We used to be the world's leader. Everybody wanted to be our ally. Now she is the one swaggering across the world stage while Biden staggers around, barely waking up from his nap. It's incredible to see how far we've fallen in influence and prestige under this decrepit non-entity of a president and his gray technocratic team of foreign policy geniuses. Let's remember that the next time the establishment tells you what a good idea it is to put someone with decades of foreign policy experience in charge. Here to react, former State Department spokesperson Morgan Ortega, who really is a foreign policy genius. Morgan, it's been a while. Great to see you. What do you make of all these developments?
Thank you, Steve. It's so good to be back.
Awkward.
I'm sorry, maybe you didn't hear my question. I was just asking you, what do you make of all these developments?
So I think you brought up incredibly important points tonight that didn't get a lot of coverage. Let's peel back the onion, Steve, and look at the bigger picture of what the Chinese Communist Party is trying to do. They are trying to dominate the world stage. So we are entering an era, we talked about this at the beginning.
The Chinese Communist Party is trying to dominate the global stage. Once again, how dare this country do what any other country would do? Try to expand their global influence. That's their criticism, guys. Let's hear that part again. That part's so funny to me.
Points tonight that didn't get a lot of coverage. Let's peel back the onion, Steve, and look at the bigger picture of what the Chinese Communist Party is trying to do. They are trying to dominate the world stage. So we are entering an era, we talked about this at the beginning of the Trump presidency, of great power competition. What does that mean? It means that we're in a struggle in region for region around the world of communism versus democracy. And what you're seeing China try to do is not only to replace us as the dominant military power, but the dominant economic power as well.
Ooh.
So they are going country by
She just admitted it. She just admitted it right there.
Yep. How dare they?
And they're describing it as communism, and like you said, like we wouldn't call it it's not communism, but they're describing it as communism. So they're the ones who's presenting the successful or the succeeding China as the communist model. So you, in your narrative, is going to sell people on this being communism, something that's working, that people are liking.
Yeah,
Seems weird to me, but go ahead.
Black Agenda Report, they did a great job explaining this. So we can break down to a baseline level on how people fall for this stuff, because a lot of average people may not be thinking about it in terms of economic models. But this is white supremacy, because how dare this Asian country surpass a mostly Caucasian white dominant country? That is not supposed to happen. Before the United States, there was the UK. We are supposed to be on top. How dare they? So they can just present that as an affront. How dare you try to surpass your betters? How dare you?
You know what collapses? White supremacy that they've sold us for 500 years. They've sold us for 500 plus years. That literally collapses because they was able to sell this subconsciously or consciously, sell white supremacy. White people are better, as long as they were always at the top of the heap, economically, at the top of the heap, militarily. That's no longer going to be. So it undercuts just the ideology of white supremacy. This is why they have to push back against CRT. All of this to me is sort of connected, but
it is.
Go ahead before I go on a tangent.
And that shows how unhinged the core of white American ideology is. Where they wanted to go war, and they said it, they were willing to go war with China before they allowed them to surpass them. How long has other countries allowed the United States to be on top without waging war against them? The United States and the West sees these Asian people, they see Chinese people rise up on the global stage, and they say we'd rather go to war and destroy the global economy and the working class than allow it to happen. And then the lesser side of that is someone like Tucker Carlson that said we should have economic war. That's what he said. He's the better among most camera hosts. We say, I don't want to war with China. We should have economic war. My question is why? How do we benefit? We benefit if we had a mutual exchange of trade where every country benefit. They refuse to let us have that. Guys, we do not benefit from U.S. imperialism. But anyway, I'm ranting. I'm going to finish this segment here soon. Let's wrap this up.
That country, inch by inch, bit by bit, to take off, to bring away our friends. Saudi Arabia and Brazil are excellent examples that you brought up. So what do we see happen in Saudi Arabia? First of all, the administration was.
You guys hear what she said? It was like mid-sentence. I don't know if you caught it. She said China is guilty of peeling our friends and our allies away from us. Boo-hoo, motherfucker. Whose fault is that? Oh my God. Chinese, they're so hostile to us. They're making their friends like them more than they like us. Because a lot of these people are not even canceling the United States. They're just doing business with China too. They're just joining BRICS as well. But that's still front. But sorry, let me let it continue. I'll just go. I'll let it finish.
Completely surprised whenever Saudi Arabia and China came out with Iran, which is Saudi's number one foe, number one enemy, to announce that they were bringing ambassadors back together, opening embassies, that they had come to a deal. Not only we were not a part of that deal, we were surprised by it. We learned about it in the newspaper with everyone else, and so that just goes to show that Saudi Arabia sees Xi Jinping as a better mediator, a better partner than President Biden. And that's a precarious position to be in. Is Saudi the perfect friend? No, they're not. But exactly what President Biden said that he would not allow to happen in the Middle East and around the world is happening in terms of us losing our influence, us losing, key negotiations. Same thing going on in Brazil as well, Steve. It took Biden, I think, over a year to call Bolsonaro when he was the president of the year, because I think because he didn't like him. And I'm hearing this from allies, especially around Latin and South America and in the Middle East, that the Biden administration is so distracted by the Russia-Ukraine conflict that they're not focusing on anything else. And we are ceding our influence in these regions. Why does that matter? It matters because China is not doing that. In fact, they're doing the opposite. They're doubling down.
Exactly.
They're doubling down.
Exactly. What a great
doubling down on being nice and peace. They're doubling down, Nick. Go ahead.
For the same time, I'm moving on to the next part. That video is so hilarious to me. I can round that video alone forever. That video was great because that video.
Oh my God, that was the next. That was the video I wanted to toss in too. So
yeah,
we're
I got ahead of you. This is my last. I'm glad we was on the same page on here.
Yeah.
But that last video I showed you guys was hilarious. That's just pure cope. That video is just them complaining that China's doing better things. They're pulling our allies away. They negotiated peace between Saudi Arabia and Iran. You know how long Bernie Sanders said he wanted to do that? You know how long we said we're going to do? Nope. Last segment was hilarious, pure cope. Now this is more right-wing meltdown. I know you want to share this as well, so you can speak on it as well if you want. This is Ted Cruz. I think it speaks for itself. This is the right-wing meltdown and cope over the rise of China. And as I said before, they're willing to go to war and destroy everyone before they let China win this shit at the end of the day. That's why this is one of the number one things I cover, and this is the biggest story there is in politics.
He's trying to drive nations to leftists, which is what has happened in Brazil, what's happened in Colombia. Joe Biden has been great for enemies of America, and then you put China in particular.
Enemies.
China is waging a 1,000-year war against the United States. They want economic dominance. They want military dominance. They want global dominance. At the southern border, Chinese fentanyl is being sent to the cartels. We had 100,000 overdoses last year, the most in history. China systematically waging this war. And I'll tell you, the Biden White House and the Democrat Party is structurally pro-China because all of their major supporters are in bed with China. He's trying.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That's an aggressive ass 40 seconds. I know you had this same, so do you want to speak on this first?
Yeah, so I saw this with Margaret Kimberly had her commentary with it, but this speaks to how both red and blue have their imperialist instincts. I'm going to use the word that the Politico use, and it's just one uses a different country than the other. But how long before the Democrats come on board with the fight against China?
Oh, they are.
I mean, you see that with Marianne Williamson. She's already kind of vocally saying it, but it seems like I think they're going to begin to even ramp up their rhetoric even more and more. You see it because the Republicans are coming in up here, Nick. They're coming in way up here. So I just want to know what is Morning Joe is that doing?
There's like different levels, and this is my opinion based on my analysis of this. Like there's like different levels. Morning Joe is hot. You know what I mean? They're all in. They like as aggressive as Fox News on China. But then you have like the people they trying to save face a little bit. Like you don't see Chris Hayes do that much. Like he's the baby face, like the progressive. He like the progressive cosplayer on the channel. So those people they tend to avoid. Like, I don't see Joyanne Reed talk about China that much. Like you usually the more.
That's not her position. I think certain people have positions.
Yeah, you know what I mean, right?
War, like Joyanne Reed, her role is culture war. So she's to play the culture war. I'm not sure what Chris Hayes is.
Chris Hayes is like he. I don't watch a ton of his stuff, but he's like the cosplay progressive. He's like, yeah, I believe in climate change. Yeah, I believe in Medicare for all. But hey, Joe Biden's great. Like, he will do like a climate report. Like he would do like a climate change report, and he's like, man, you see how I'm like the new young liberal progressive. No, you old commentators and newscast heads, they would never do a climate change report like this. But he's a fucking neoliberal that support Ukraine, it's like a head fake. You guys know what I'm talking about.
It's like a Bernie Sanders industrial
they won't have
kind of guy. Yeah,
like you said, you already know what I'm talking about because you nailed it earlier because they got these people, they perform certain roles. They won't have Chris Hayes do the anti-China shit, but Joe Scarborough, the former Republican, the old people, they're allowed to go full-fledged xenophobic. I literally don't have time to break all these segments down, but I see like Morning Joe have been unhinged on this shit recently. I read a super chat and I passed you for the last segment of the day. At least I have. They for $5. Yeah. Marvin banksters, who are they? Finance colonialism wars. Forget color. About money and power, resources. Bank get paid. Politicians get paid. Thank you for the $5. Marvin, also, once again, I want to give a shout out to Abiding 71, who always leave friendly super stickers every live stream. If you guys enjoying this as well, make sure you guys support the Patreon and all that. I'll pass it to you, CJ.
So we'll end with this. It's just a reaction to a video. Just a reaction to the video because we had AOC burner account. Maybe we'll do that in another stream or something because I think
we do it next time.
You know more about that than me. I know a little bit about it, but we may not have time to get to that one. So that one we'll move. So let's get to this Marco Rubio video, and I already have it prepped here, right here. You kind of alluded to it, or maybe I alluded to it, but Saeed Mohammed Marandi tweeted this out. He's a good follow. He tweets out a lot of great stuff. So this is a very, very short video. Let's listen. And then there's an article I want to read from Caitlin Johnstone.
Today,
Yeah, good choice.
in our hemisphere, largest country in the Western Hemisphere south of us, cut a trade deal with China. They're going to, from now on, do trade in their own currencies, get right around the dollar. They're creating a secondary economy in the world, totally independent of the United States. We won't have to talk about sanctions in 5 years because there'll be so many countries transacting in currencies other than the dollar that we won't have the ability to sanction them. Today, Brazil.
So Marco Rubio is mad that he can't starve, or the United States won't have the ability to effectively starve children, Nick, and women.
Psychopath.
We can't effectively do that, and he's mad about that. And I'm going to play it one more time because I got to hear it again, and then I'll read the accompanying article from Caitlin Johnstone, because she talks about how he kind of tips off something without knowing it. But I won't spoil the article. So, but let me listen to this, or let's listen to this one more time, and then we'll get to that article.
Today, Brazil, in our hemisphere, largest country in the Western Hemisphere south of us, cut a trade deal with China. They're going to, from now on, do trade in their own currencies, get right around the dollar. They're creating a secondary economy in the world, totally independent of the United States. We won't have to talk about sanctions in 5 years because there'll be so many countries transacting in currencies other than the dollar that we won't have the ability to sanction them.
Oh, we can't start the kids no more.
That's
oh my
the fear.
God.
That is the fear. I mean, your fear is not that people are going to be paying in high inflation prices. That's not his fear, Nick. His fear is that we can't starve people in other countries and use that to overthrow governments. Go ahead.
Let me tell you guys something. I never suffered from Trump derangement syndrome. I always thought this shit was funny. Like, Trump is just one of the same. And I remember during the Republican primaries while A1 was freaking out, you had the Morning Joe and liberal ties that were rooting for people like Marco Rubio to beat Donald Trump. You guys remember the Republican primary in 2015? Shit was hilarious. Hilarious. Watching Marco Rubio get roasted by Donald Trump was so cathartic.
Yeah, I love that.
It was so cathartic. And I'll tell you, I explained it so many times. The reason why I did not have Trump derangement syndrome, do you guys understand the bullets that we dodged? Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz. Marco Rubio is a psychopath of the highest order. He floats all the time just invading Cuba. All the time. Come on, why don't we just take him out? Why don't we just go to Latin America, do the shit we used to do in the 80s? That's literally what Marco Rubio been saying. That he grew in Florida politics as a gusano, maximum extreme. And the Republican establishment loved him, and they groomed him to be the next guy. He will be the next Ron DeSantis. If it wasn't for Donald Trump slayed this man and turned him to politically irrelevant. This guy, Marco Rubio, is so crazy that he came out against Ron DeSantis for his Ukraine take. And that's a ballsy move because he's in Florida speaking against the Don. But he had to be, he is so pro-war. He's like, nigga,
and he barely won. Rubio didn't win with a big old lead either. And he's playing with fire over that. But go ahead.
You guys know Marco Rubio is so pro-war. This man risked his political career in order to back up NATO and criticize Ron DeSantis to his right. So you guys know I ripped Trump so many times on this show, but when Trump destroyed people like him and John Kasich, and all the goons on the stage, the Chris Christie, all the establishment, the people who are way more dangerous than Donald Trump, way more dangerous because they've been more effective. I'm not saying that Donald Trump don't got evil intentions, but these motherfuckers will got shit done, son. Anyway, I'll let you continue, CJ. That's my rant on Marco Rubio. The point being, I want to watch I gotta rewatch that shit because that shit was so cathartic. I've been watching those debates like liberals are freaking out like, oh my god, Trump is breaking all the norms. I was like, oh, you see what he said to Marco Rubio? Oh! Dude, if RBN is back there, those things are just so fucking funny, dude. I was cracking up. To those debates. But anyway, go ahead, CJ.
So this one from Caitlin Johnstone, friend of the show, friend of the network. This is on her Substack. Marco Rubio accidentally makes a great argument against U.S. dollar hegemony. And that's the same picture from the same interview. Let me read this here.
Marco Rubio.
Oh, so no, I thought that was saying Marco Rubio had more sound about him saying some more crazy stuff. That's the article, but let's read it. I'll read it myself. It's a couple. We're not reading all of it, but some empire managers are so brash about wanting to rule the world that they'll occasionally voice their position so directly it sounds like a anti-imperialist said it. We saw just such an instance last Wednesday during a conversation between empire propagandist Sean Hannity and warmongering Senator Marco Rubio on Fox News. He frenzied about Rubio in his vitriol about the rise of China on the world stage that he accidentally wound up providing a very good argument against the hegemony of the United States dollar. Rubio began with a rant about how the U.S. is in conflict with China in response to a question from Hannity about whether Xi Jinping is preparing for war. So, Nick, this answer, this little short clip we got, wasn't even about, hegemony, about it was about, the question was, do you think Xi Jinping is ramping up for war? That was the question, and this was the response he got.
Yeah, and that's why this is a good segment to do afterwards, because you can see the media tour where they all went on the anti-China thing and they all typed Biden for being weak on China. This was Marco Rubio's turn, so this is literally this is a great follow-up for the last segment we just did, because this is Marco Rubio's turn to go on Fox News and scare the boomers about China, because they did a whole thing about this. It's a giant establishment acknowledgement that this was happening. Fox News had a freak out coverage of this. You had the CNN, MSNBC coverage of this that was trying to avoid mentioning Biden as being responsible, but this is something. It was like something like the establishment, like, we gotta acknowledge this. We gotta get people on our side. We gotta start the propaganda right now on this shit. But anyway, go ahead, CJ.
Absolutely. Oh, here's the quote. Quote, the bottom line is we're in a conflict, and I think we have to start talking about it that way, Rubio said. Quote, crazy. I was very young, obviously, at the end of the Cold War, but it's been about 30 years since there was another superpower on the earth that was in conflict with the United States. We are back in that place. Man, we need to stop pretending like that's not the case now. That's Marco Rubio, and this is a short clip. He says a little more, so let's watch it. This guy is a freaking threat. You talking about a threat? I was already watching it, but let's watch this. Listen to this.
Here now, Florida Senator Marco Rubio. Senator, how are you?
And don't worry, it's not long. It's only like 4 minutes. It's not a long clip, so let's watch.
All right, Senator, President Xi said he's preparing for war. They have been ramping up their military now for over a decade, and now they increased their defense budget another 7.6%. And President Xi said he's preparing for war. I assume it's against us. Is that a wrong assumption?
Well, it's not against Belgium or Luxembourg. Look, I think the bottom line is we're in a conflict. And I think we have to start talking about it that way. You know, most of the people are up here now don't remember.
Just real quick, look how much they leave out. Why do they do that? They only do that. They are lying about omission. Every segment does this. China is preparing for war, and of course they're preparing war against us. But why would they do that? I don't know. It's almost like we've been sending weapons to Taiwan. It's almost like we've been doing military drills with Japan near the airspace. Oh, why would China be preparing for war? It's obvious. You had Japan, you had the United States, you had Australia. Biden sent nuclear submarines to Australia. I repeat, Biden sent nuclear submarines to Australia. They ramp up the military budget. And then China, they're like, man, They ramping up, they gearing up. Maybe we should increase our military budget. And then Marco Rubio and Shaw Haynes, like, oh my God, how dare they get ready for this assault we have planned on them? Go ahead, CJ.
That's essentially what's happening. That's what bullies think you should reply. How you should reply to the bullies, though.
You know, I was very young, obviously, at the end of the Cold War, but it's been about 30 years since there was another superpower on the earth that was in conflict with the United States. And we are back in that place. And we need to stop pretending like that's not the case. Now, I hope it's never an armed conflict, but it's.
Well, what is the conflict? They never tell us what the conflict is. What is that conflict?
The conflict at every level you can imagine. And I think, look, we have a couple problems. Number one, the White House, the Biden administration is filled with a bunch of traditional, conventional political figures that grew up over the last 20 years talking about cooperating with China. We saw how that worked out. They took all of our jobs. They took all of our factories. They got rich.
They took all of our jobs. They took them, Nick. Capitalists didn't pay the managers, you call them politicians, to create legislation to send them away like Joe Biden. They just took them. They flew off on some balloons, Nick. They flew some balloons over here. The job just went away.
I feel like I'll let it play because I feel like I don't have to say anything. Like, he is so dumb. I think it speaks for itself at this point. I'll let it play.
Or their middle class grew, our middle class shrunk. They make things, and we don't. That was, and so.
How dare they do the making
I think the other problem we
have. They do the making things. Sorry, like, this is so ridiculous.
And we don't.
And you've alluded to this, is these guys in China, they watch TV. I mean, they watch TV broadcasts of what's happening in America. And I hate saying this because I don't want to encourage our enemies, but you turn on the TV and you watch Joe Biden speak on any topic on any day, that does not inspire respect or apprehension on the part of our adversaries. They're probably saying now.
Like, I don't, like, look, we wanted literally like 5 seconds. Look what they were showing. Like, come on, like, bro, how did the boomers who watch this not seeing this? Like, bro, it's so obvious to me. Look what they're showing.
Apprehension on the part of our adversaries. They're probably saying now's the time to strike, guys.
Well, they definitely are doing that. And look at this new alliance that is emerging. I call it a new axis of evil. I mean, you got Russia, you got China. Now they bring in the Iranians. They broker a deal with Saudi Arabia. Now they're brokering another deal with Saudi Arabia and Syria. And
like,
what are you upset about? What are they upset about? I'm
literally just laughing because it's so aggressive. See, I'll let you finish, but it's so. This is like, we only 3 minutes in. It's so aggressive. Sorry, CJ, finish your thoughts.
2 minutes. We barely haven't hit the 2 minute mark.
Jesus Christ,
we haven't hit the 2 minute mark, but let's let it try to get through a little more. But
and they're telling Kevin McCarthy not to meet with an allied leader. And then what are the consequences for the balloon spying? What are the consequences for taking out an American drone like Putin did?
There have been no consequences. And I think that's part of the challenge that we have on our hands here. Look, it goes beyond these things. That just today, Brazil, in our hemisphere, largest country in the Western Hemisphere south of us, cut a trade deal with China. They're going to, from now on, do trade in their own currencies, get right around the dollar. They're creating a secondary economy in the world, totally independent of the United States. We won't have to talk about sanctions in 5 years because there'll be so many countries transacting in currencies other than the dollar that we won't have the ability to sanction them.
Transacting in your own currency. How dare you? How dare you transaction in the yuan from China? How dare you if you're Chinese? You're supposed to get dollars. So we see that advantage. It's the expectation. Hey, I deserve privilege. It's the expectation. This ideology, Nick, is so interconnected with the ideology of white supremacy that is so intertwined.
Look at our policing.
American politics. Go ahead.
Look at our policing. They hit in China and every other country, Africa, every country that the United States has sanctioned over the last few decades. They're the person that the police is hitting with a baton, beating the shit out of them, and they say, "Stop resisting! Stop resisting!" How fitting is that? Just like our white supremacist police system, beat the shit out of these countries, and then they have a method of resisting, and they view that as offensive.
That's offensive.
If you're blocking, you defend yourself. The cop like, "Stop resisting!" You're gonna beat the shit out of you more. That's what they.
That's
very
exactly
fitting for this society, right? Go ahead, CJ.
It's so white supremacy. It's so. But let's continue with the article. Rubio is not the first U.S. imperialist we've seen expressing concern about the U.S. dollar losing its position as the dominant currency of the world. Not just with regard to China and Brazil, but between China and Russia, between China and Saudi Arabia. You notice the trend? Between China and India, and between India and Russia. Quote, the dollar is America's superpower, Fareed Zakaria writes for the Washington Post. Quote, it gives Washington's unrivaled economic and political muscle. The United States can slap sanctions on countries unilaterally, freezing them out on large parts of the world economy. And when Washington spends freely, it can be certain that its debt, usually in the form of T-bills, will be bought up by the rest of the world. End quote. This guy Fareed is not that good. I don't know if people know that, but this guy Fareed is not that good. Let's continue with just two more paragraphs.
He's another guy that they allow. Like, he wanted to lead Ukraine guys on CNN, right?
Yeah.
Like, he wanted people like with Ali Vesh. He wanted people that do significantly more Ukraine segments than most, and they are all garbage. and when you watch them, you know why he's that guy. You know why he's that guy. But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, okay, I found it. Okay, the U.S. has engaged in a tremendous amount of manipulation to secure the dollar's position as the global reserve currency and all the power that comes with it, and has used it to fund a war machine of unprecedented might and to inflict starvation sanctions on disobedient nations around the world, Nick. And I can stop here to make a comment, because this part here, I think this is the fear. They won't be, because they won't be able to rule how they want to rule, which is by might, by funding the war machine. Just think about how much money we just waste, Nick. Literally. How much is the war budget, the military budget is $800+ billion that we just waste? What's backing that? War is backing that. The petrodollar, is backing that, and war is backing that. And that is coming to an end. So you have a bully who essentially has kryptonite, Nick, and they can't use the way that they've been bullying all this time to bully. You can't do it anymore. That's essentially what's happening. And we can end the article there. Any final comments or any comments on this?
What's that? We can wrap the segment there.
All right, so we can wrap that segment. What's up? What's coming up next for you? What's your closing
Nick at
remarks?
Night, man. We've been having a great time at Nick Night, fam. Right? Wednesday night.
Great.
We got friend show. You know, Zoya's Life. She's gonna be there. Jay's gonna be there. Also, friend of the show, friend network, amazing activist. She also recently called out AOC. We covered that a few weeks ago.
Lucy's coming.
Yeah, Blue Moon Red Wine will be joining us. Long time since we had a chat, so I'm looking forward to that. Been friends with Lucy way before RBN got to the level where it's at now. So Nick at Night is a much more chill, like conversational live stream for usually about an hour to 90 minutes. I've been deeply enjoying it. I think you guys have as well. So make sure you guys continue to share our page. That will grow. Wednesday gonna be lit. Once again, I gotta reach out to Glenn. He said just touch base with him this week. So if it doesn't happen this week, it's gonna happen soon. The reason why I invited him on, because I've been paying attention to the TikTok ban, and he did a great segment. We're going to talk about this on RBN about how the Republicans, by pushing this TikTok ban bill, is actually doing a gigantic First Amendment violation, because there are a lot of amendments that was pressed through. Lindsey Graham was called out. I got to do a segment on this later. I don't know if you saw this, CJ. Lindsey Graham was called out on Fox News by one. I don't remember the dude name on that right now. But he one of the big Fox News guests called out Lindsey Graham. He was like, dude, Lindsey, this bill is fucking garbage, dude. This shit is literally invading on First Amendment rights. It'll ban social media companies for not modding in a pro-Ukrainian point of view. Like, it's a horrific bill. And Republicans are being called out for this. And Rand Paul called them out for it. Glenn Greenwald did a great segment. I might send it to you, TJ. It's a great segment showing, like, this bill is fucked. They use an anti-China sentiment in order to pass a bill that would directly limit First Amendment. Rand Paul and a few people on the right, like the Fox News host and a few people at Newsmax, were like, hey y'all, what the fuck are y'all doing with this shit? And I mean,
Yeah.
this interview, I might cover it tomorrow on RBN Live. This dude is extremely hostile to Lindsey Graham. You will never see shit like that on MSNBC.
Wow, yeah, I gotta see this.
He's like, no, Lindsey, you need to explain this. And Lindsey's like, oh, sorry, I apologize. I don't got to answer. He's like, no, you better come back. Like he was fear. I was like, bro, this is crazy. So anyway, I got a segment prepared. I didn't want to half-ass it today, so I'm gonna save it for RBN Live. And Glenn gonna come on. He's gonna talk about it sometime this week. We get that nailed down. But if not this week, gonna be here soon. But anyway, that's what I have coming up.
That's how I describe it. Patriot Act 2.0. That's how I describe it. And so you'll see us tomorrow. Final announcements. You'll see us tomorrow for the not Nick and CJ, but RBN Live. So make sure you tune in for that. Probably the story we didn't cover today. AOC's burner account. Yeah. We'll probably get to that.
That's a fun story.
Tomorrow.
So, that's a fun story.
Yeah, that's a fun story. We'll get to that tomorrow. So yeah, I guess I could take us out here.
I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Going on, so I can take us out, Nick. All right, Nick, I'll see you tomorrow. Let's add this to the stream here, and we'll be taken out by, let's see, what do I have to take us out with? I do like the African. So this story, Marjorie Taylor Greene. 60 Minutes. Oh, that's the other story. The Marjorie Taylor Greene story. So Marjorie Taylor Greene and was there another story? Oh, and the AOC story. Okay, so these two stories we will have to pin until next week. I don't think I have that video. Damn it. I don't have it saved. So anyway, we'll end with the same one that we began with. It's a great video. So thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.
A country that has toppled so many governments in Africa, that has led so many coups in Africa and other parts of the world, a country that has killed so many of our leaders in Africa and other parts of the world, the killers of Patrice Lumumba, those who toppled Kwame Nkrumah, those who killed Nasser, those who killed Muammar Gaddafi, today are coming to teach us about democracy. A country that has been built on brutal force, on enslavement of other human beings, on the humiliation of Africans, the exploitation of Africans, the plunder of Africa, today is coming to teach us about democracy. If you have no respect for the dignity of others, if you have no respect for the sovereignty of other countries, you cannot claim to be a champion of democracy.